engines! Start your engines!
Ready. Green flag, green flag. All rolling. All the way out. Stay in, stay in, stay in. Come on, come on, come on. Bye-bye, on in. See you later. These guys are really good. Keep digging. Stay in the gas. Hang on, dude, baby. Did not hit a thing. Why are you waiting so long, man? Bottom clear, chasing you down here. White flag. Hit your mark.
Howdy, howdy, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Halloween. Guess we're a night early. Welcome to NWP. Going to be a fun show tonight. I am your host this week, Eric Estep, joined, as always, by Jarrett Lundberg, a.k.a. The Iceberg. And then we have Daniel Baldwin, also known as Danny B. Talks. Going to do a lot of talking tonight. Gentlemen, hope you're doing well. You guys got any Halloween plans for tomorrow evening? Anyone going trick-or-treating out there? What do we got?
Gonna throw candy at anyone who comes to my door.
Ooh. Okay.
Well, I was
Spicy.
gonna go with some family that came down for my birthday out for early for my birthday, and maybe we'll do like a quick little like drive-by candy throw at Danny's house while we're on the way or something. I just realized, Eric, you got the Dr. Pepper shirt. I got the Sundrop shirt.
Oh, the Soda Wars.
And I've got the neutral shirt.
And I'm sorry, the way you
Black
started
coffee.
The way you started just reminded me. You're like, howdy, 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 everybody. I'm like, I'm Woody. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Howdy, 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 howdy. Speaking of Halloween, one of my first Halloween costumes was Woody from Toy Story. I still remember those days. I was probably 6, 7 years old. Don't have any Halloween costumes planned this time around. But
does the dog have a Halloween costume though
for spooky season? He does have some little bat wings, although my friend pointed out today he looks more like the dragon from How to Train Your Dragon when he wears
Toothless.
them. Yes, Toothless. He looks like Toothless. So dragon, vampire, bat, you be the judge. He's more festive this year than I am, unfortunately. Do want to say real quick, speaking of being festive, thank you to everyone who tuned into last night's live stream, Groovy Hollow. It was really fun to participate as a driver this year, but it was even more fun to see the overwhelming reception. Did not expect that kind of enthusiasm, turnout from the fans. Raised a couple $1,000s for children's hospitals, and I believe last I heard we have at least donated 100 and something. I don't know the exact number, 100 plus diecast to Toys for Tots, which I think is pretty wild, pretty cool. So. Really appreciate everyone who tuned in last night. Back-to-back streams and back-to-back nights. This is going to be fun. Gentlemen, let's get into Homestead Miami Speedway. One of the best races all year long, but I want to jump straight to the finish. On that final restart, the top four were the four drivers below the cut line who all desperately needed to win. Denny Hamlin jumped out front, but then was run down and passed by Ryan Blaney, who then got run down and passed by Tyler Reddick with half a lap to go. Tyler Reddick wins. He jumps into the championship for Jarrett. What was going through your mind during those final 7 laps? Where do we even start?
Well, what I loved about the whole race that led to the finish is that this was not a race. You know, this was not a race I think that anyone can be like logically upset with. You know, like there's some races where it's like I get someone not being liking a green white checker even if it ends well, or it's not liking, you know, a race because there's too many wrecks or whatever, but everything else is pretty good. Like I get that. This is a race that checks every box, and the finish in that way checks every box. I mean, think about it. This was not like some overtime finish because of a stupid caution caused by somebody going for 30,000th place. This was a finish that got set up because two guys were racing tooth and nail to the finish. One of them was on the razor's edge, finally got cut, and from there you had the absolute best of the best racing for it. You had, honestly, with Tyler Reddick, I'd say one of the ballsiest moves I've seen at Homestead, to go in basically and just play free bird on the high side, pass somebody on the entrance of the corner at Homestead. That is insane to me. The fact that we had multiple lead changes in the last 3 laps. I think in the last 2 laps we had 3 leaders. And the crazy part, and I'll point this out, we have a Cup record that this race helps set. The 6th race this year in the Cup series alone, decided by a last lap pass. I can definitely be critical of NASCAR at times. I can kind of cheerlead when I really like something, but I think this time is the one where everyone, for the most part, I think is on the same page, unless you had some vested interest that you purposely wanted to dislike this race for. I don't see a real reason for disliking this race in any way.
Well,
Yeah.
Jared, I am actually upset. I am pissed, to be honest with you, at the fact that this race is not the championship race anymore because it was that good. And I'm pissed even more. They've moved this race now to March next year and getting it out of the playoffs. Like, what are we doing? You really going to tell me we should go to Phoenix twice a year instead of this as a unique championship race? Come on.
Yeah, they're going to replace this with what? New Hampshire, Gateway. What else is in the playoffs next year? A bunch of flat ovals, our favorites, the flat tracks.
This race next year, this date will be taken by Talladega. The technical date replacement will be Gateway because this is a ISC track. Gateway being more independent. ISC.
Yeah. Oof.
But I'm still, until proven otherwise, I'm still holding to the fact that I believe there are 19 to 20 months between Homestead 2025 and the 2026 finale. That is more than enough time to renovate this place and get it championship ready. I know a lot of people, I don't care, I don't go to the track for a facility. It's like, okay, well, think of it like this. Facility gets upgraded, date gets upgraded. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what happened to Phoenix Raceway, Talladega Super Speedway. You spend Daytona, you spend tens of millions of dollars on a facility, it goes into prime time position. That's what we've seen time and time again.
I still say I think Daytona is probably the nicest facility from outside a grandstand in-field experience, but I don't want to be a championship race just because it's a nice facility.
Yeah, I didn't mean to mention two super speedways there. We don't want them championships, but like regular season finale, they bumped Talladega into the round of 8 for next year. Like, that's all I'm saying is they're getting prime position because they've made investments. Also, these are all NASCAR owned tracks we're talking about. We aren't talking about any SMI tracks making major investments. Homestead, fortunately, is another NASCAR owned track, so maybe they can hop on that bandwagon.
If this was an SMI track, it would be resurfaced next year.
With a paper thin layer of asphalt that barely makes it all the way around.
And then sprinkle shreds of concrete on there for good measure.
Like part of say when.
When?
And now I'm going to lay down rubber shreds and heat it up with a blowtorch. And
well, I don't want to get too far off the actual finish itself because Jarrett sort of touched on this. Reddick's move around the high side was incredible. NBC showed the graphic. His lap time on that final lap was half a second faster than anyone else in the field. So a lot of fans immediately jumped to Blaney blew it. Or well, first they said Larson blew it by trying to go 3 wide middle and lap. Traffic spun out. Whatever. Okay. Hamlin blew it because he had the lead, had the clean air, got run down, got past. But then it was Ryan Blaney who gave Tyler Reddick the top on the last lap. My take is that I don't think he blew it. One, because Reddick's move seemed to defy physics. I don't think anyone could have predicted the car sticking like that on slightly older tires. But two, Blaney used the bottom to get the lead in the first place, and Reddick rolled the bottom really well in turns 1 and 2 to get to second and keep his momentum. So to me, if you pick the outside lane there, if you run the wall, you're giving the second place guy every opportunity to slide you, stuff you in the fence if they so choose. I think the only mistake Blaney made was not fully committing to the bottom in 3 and 4, putting himself in that aggressive position. Blaney instead chose that sort of middle ground, like kind of indecisive. He was like a lane and a half off the wall. If he did make a mistake, it wasn't that he left the top open. It's that he didn't commit to the bottom. I don't know if you saw it any differently, Jared. Do you feel that Blaney lost this race more than Reddick went and won it?
I mean, the way I saw it was that if you move that kind of extra lane down, you're kind of cutting off a slide job in that defensive move. And if you look at the Xfinity race too, that we'll talk about later, Austin Hill won that race because he was the only one who was good enough to be good on the bottom. So you had to be good on the bottom. You saw how that the way I see it is he saw how that race was won. That race was won by the 21 hooking it up down low. Then, like you said, Reddick hooks it up down low, gets past Denny Hamlin. He's right on his bumper. I just think that Blaney just got straight beat. I think that's the best way to put it. I think Reddick just outdrove him. And a lot of Blaney fans, I know he's very popular. Blaney fans will not want to say that or like to hear that, but it's true. In this instance, Reddick, whether you say he just wanted it more, whether you say it defied physics, whatever it might be, he snookered him, and I think he got into his head a bit.
Cars Boy 95 in the chat says Reddick did the Hail Melon without the hitting the wall part, which, yeah, it's kind of what it looked like, really. I mean, it gave me a similar feeling, except this was obviously for the win. It was on camera. I remember the Ross Hail Melon deal. Obviously, it wasn't for the win. It was for like a 5th place or whatever. But it was more like after the checkered flag, I was looking at the scoreboard trying to figure out why Ross was in the top 5 all of a sudden. And then it was 30 seconds later, they show the replay that I went. So it was cool. Cinematically, is that a word? This was so thrilling to see Reddick just ship it in there and have it stick. I mean, it ended up looking like just an easy pass around the outside, like you're going around a lap car. But I think that's what made it so impressive is I don't think there are a lot of drivers in the field who could have made that work or would have had the nerve to try that move in that instance. I want to mention this stat. I don't think we mentioned it yet. This set a record, a Homestead record for green flag passes and lead changes. So statistically speaking, eye test speaking, this was probably the best Homestead Miami Speedway race in the track's 20 plus year history. Let's talk about just before the finish. Kyle Larson going for the lead on Ryan Blaney inside of Austin Dillon, gets loose, spins out. Larson had a roller coaster of a day. He had good speed early on, had a flat tire, had to battle back from underwing damage, loss of track position. Took him all day, but he eventually got back to the lead. Danny, how impressive has Kyle Larson been at just being resilient, it seems?
Well, definitely been impressive in terms of that. I think really he's the kind of driver he's that good of a driver you'd expect no less than being resilient to do things like that. But the problem me is I've been picking him to win the last 2 races here at the points. It's gonna bite me. And now he does find himself in a situation where he's like I think 7 points out now.
Yeah.
So he's kind of got his back against the wall coming into the championship for almost there for the first time, and I guess since joining Hendrick, I haven't seen him really in this kind of position. With Larson though, I mean, he's a driver who really should be expected to win these last few weeks, and I guess he's had himself in contention, but some things have happened, but he's still found a way to get a solid enough result. But when we're seeing now how important it is to get the win in his final round, that he's actually in a position where he could potentially not make the championship for this year.
What's crazy is like he's had these issues 2 weeks in a row at Las Vegas. It was a bad pit stop. At Homestead, it was the flat tire and then the spin. He still finished, I think, 11th and 13th the last 2 weeks, which aren't terrible finishes. The problem is he's earning like no stage points because these issues are happening early in the race and he's a lap down or at the tail end of the lead lap. He's earned almost no stage points, and that's what's cost him. That's why, to your point, Danny, he's 7 points below the cut line. Jared, are you surprised that the number 1 seed is below the cut line now headed to Martinsville?
I don't know if surprise is the right word. I guess maybe to a degree, but at the same time, it's like we kind of knew going in. It's like Larson is so feast or famine. Remember we had, I think, maybe was it 3-4 weeks, might have been longer ago, we had Grant on and he was showing us all the analytics and how like, look at this, it's a perfect circle of like perfect analytics, and then look at Larson here with crash percentage and it's just like a Pac-Man graph at that point. And it's like, it's not all his fault, but dude just gets caught up in anything and has these issues and all of that. And I'm continuously have to stay impressed with how good he is at being resilient and the fact that he's able to come back, because he got it. I think he's done it a couple more times before and done it enough that we're like, oh, it's Kyle Larson, of course he's going to get back up there. But it's still damn impressive. But it's just, if he can just have a year where he's not caught up in wrecks a bunch, he's going to win 10 races like 2021. But I'm not surprised. I also, at the same time, looking at only being 7 points out, it's like it's not really insurmountable in any way. I mean, only being 29 points behind Bell, it seems like a lot, but we've seen before the guy going into the final race of the of this round of the playoffs like hemorrhage points. Before we've seen it multiple times. So by no means do I think he's out. He could very well just go out and win this race too.
I'm excited to talk about Martinsville in the second half of the show because with I guess the option tire being on one side of the car and then a new all-time soft tire, just very soft tires on the cars this week, completely new tire combinations, going to throw some teams for the loop. Jupiter Rain in the chat says Larson is clutch. He's going to make it and will probably win. So there's still a lot of Larson believers out there because, as we've all pointed out, they have the speed. The last couple weeks, it's just been the execution that's been lacking. But that's Kyle Larson for you. You live with the speed when he's winning. You die by the speed when he's spinning out or making mistakes. This was a great race. If you're watching for the playoffs, that has had exactly what you want to see. The top 6 or 7 drivers all day were playoff drivers. The only playoff driver who didn't show up is Joey Logano, and that's because he's phoning it in until Phoenix. He'd already locked into the championship. It was super competitive, super fun to watch. I want to give a shout out, though, to both Alex Bowman, who continues to be the best non-playoff driver, finished top 10 once again. I know, Danny, he's your guy. It's got to sting not seeing him in this round of 8. I'm not sure he would have moved past this round, even if he'd made it, but he'd be making some noise if he hadn't gotten disqualified, obviously.
It definitely feels like it would have ended similar to how the 2020 season ended for him. Just like this year, he got 1 win that season, had a very solid playoff run. I think he finished 6th, just outside of the championship 4. So it's unfortunate to see the way it all ended for Alex Bowman. But like I said, after it happened, like knowing how well they've run after this and what that mistake ultimately costed them, like from a crew chief's perspective, that's a fireable offense in my opinion.
Mm, mm. On that note, actually not on that note, but I was saying earlier there are 2 drivers I wanted to shout out. The other is Carson Hocevar, and we will get to the super chats at the top of the hour, but Garabuki just dropped a generous super chat saying, hope y'all are feeling nifty today. Just want to shout out Hocevar. He was one of the only non-playoff guys in the final half of the race, dicing it up in the top 8 with the playoff guys. Another impressive top 10. Great timing on that super chat, Garabuki, because that is the other driver I wanted to shout out. Spire Motorsports, the second half of this year, just as a team, have brought more speed, and I think leading the charge has been Carson Hocevar. Really impressive performance. Even Zane Smith was up in the top 10 briefly at one point. So, yeah, definitely wanted to give Carson Hocevar some credit. While I'm speaking to the chat, I haven't mentioned this yet, but we have a very steep like goal tonight of 600. If we hit 600 likes on the YouTube stream here, we will unlock the random driver of the week. It's just above Jared's head. He's pointing it out in case you can't see it. If we hit 600 likes, we're going to have some fun in the second half of this show. No pressure or anything, but it'd be nice if we hit that mark. Thanks, guys. Bees. Unlike Nicolas Cage in whatever that movie
not
is.
The bees. Not the bees. No. Oh, they're in my eyes.
I genuinely wondered at one point if they were going to throw caution because the spotters were up there, swatting ghosts away, trying to call the race. What'd y'all think?
It's just, this race had everything, even the stupid only in NASCAR moment thing. I mean, yeah, that's one of the way I put it is like, that's one of those moments that like, you're going to see a NASCAR Nixon compilation in 10 years of like, stupid things that happened at races. And this is going to be part of it. Like, yeah, just again, every
especially
part of this race
if it had impacted the race in some way. Like, say a crash happens and you hear over the radio, yeah, there was a bee flying up my nose, so I did not see that. My bad, y'all.
You're going to see this in NASCAR. What is that animal moments compilation video?
But one question,
animals on the track.
One
moments.
Question that I think they all had for the spotters: you like jazz?
Before we get off the cup race too far and look at the points, I think this was one of the best races of the season, whether you're watching for the playoffs or not. Just all the lead changes, the different strategy. Like stage 2 was all strategy dependent. Denny Hamlin running long, chasing down the leaders, winning that stage. Like there was something in this race for everyone, even the animal lovers, as we've now discussed. Like, where does this race rank among best races this season? And some have even called this the best playoff race ever. Do you agree, Jarrett?
It's tough. I mean, to me, I think it's the best race of the year easily.
Ooh.
Personally, I loved Kansas too. I think that's up there, but this one for me, I think, is number one, and maybe it's recency bias. But this was probably from start to finish one of the most fun races I've had watching as a fan, I think, ever.
I can't argue that this was a bad race, but I will say I have some bias for being at the spring Bristol race and how fun that really was in person.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, that was fun. And I loved that race, and it was really good. And it's I think, well, granted, this year said a lot of bangers that I think is borderline top 5, top 3. But I mean, this one it checked every single box. And the only people I saw upset were people who claim they'll never watch NASCAR again until it's on the next week. So it's like, I hate being like, just, I hate sounding like state-run media right now and saying everything's great, don't worry. But it's like, this was a week that I was, I have my TV right over there, and I watch every race on that TV. And I was on the edge of my seat for the most part of this race. I take notes for when I do the streams afterwards. Usually the notes will be like kind of, with the results, front and back of one page of paper. This one was front and back, front, then a little back. Like, there was so much stuff, strategy-wise, racing-wise, bees, like the finish. There wasn't a bunch of stupidity. It was the best of the best out there. And the kind of way I put it in a video this way, and I put it in my stream this way, there goes Danny, is I want to see ordinary men do extraordinary things. And that's what I saw on Sunday. And as simply put as I can. I cannot stress enough how much I love this race. I think this is crazy for me to say this. This is probably my favorite beginning to end race since the 2018 sled job race. I will put it that high. And I wasn't even watching for playoff stuff. But even for people watching for playoffs, there's edge of your seat stuff. I don't think that necessarily dictated as much as like people like Bianchi say. But it's like you add all of that in together. Every single person had something they could have loved about this race. So I'm going to put it that high. I really am.
If this race happens in May, it's still a phenomenal race. Yeah. I do believe the playoffs up the ante. People who may not want to admit it or not, but absolutely the fact that it was, again, the top, the 6 guys who needed to run well, running in the top 6 most of the race, I think up the stakes that much more. And I think I think maybe the emotions ran even higher towards the end there between the drivers who came up short and fell off a little bit. I would say this was probably the best start to finish race this year. Kansas and Bristol Spring are the close second and thirds. Best playoff race ever. There's not a better one that immediately comes to mind, but this one has to be up there. I'm not going to say it is, but it's got to be in the mix.
This question then, let's not take playoffs. Let's just best Homestead race, because I think so. I know a lot of people that were there. I was talking to, I'll shout you out, John, on this one. I was talking to John because he filmed it. He was sitting out of turn 4, and he immediately said best Homestead race ever. And he's been at every Homestead race since 2009 outside of the COVID race. I'm hard pressed to say that there's a full-on pure race that was better. There were races with better storylines. Tony Stewart versus Carl Edwards, the first chase. I think there were races with better, or at least kind of more dramatic finishes, maybe, and like Bill Elliott and Bobby Labonte 03. But I can't think of a Homestead race better than this. And I know there's gonna be like that one person making an Indy clone again. Damn it! Put concrete on it.
You're more qualified to talk about it than I am, because I remember Homestead well up until about 2011. Anything pre-2011, I'm like trying to remember. I don't remember race. Even one Kenseth won, I think, in 07.
Oh,
I don't remember that race.
That one.
I barely remember that race.
200 laps or something.
Yeah, I remember the paint. He had a sick paint scheme that race. I don't remember the race very well.
Black one, more black.
It was like
base.
Inverted colors, kind of. Yeah. Really nice looking car.
I miss when they would do that for night races. Like Mark Martin had the white Viagra car, and then like there were others like you would always see they'd use like the Dayglow orange more on a lot of those. Like, but getting back to the present, like I think this is the best Homestead race. But if someone can point to like 2004 or something, then okay, great. I don't remember that one. The thing is, it's like I'm trying to think of a race, and I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, they're selling it too far, but it's like I can't think of a race that I haven't attended in the last 6-7 years that I've liked more than this one. I know ones I've liked that I've attended.
It's good.
Like Slide Job, like, and I do think like watching that one front to back again, like I think that one is one of the greatest races front to back. But I'd have to think back on every race I've watched, the hundreds of them I've watched over years, but I feel like I can easily put this top 10.
Yeah, I think it's top 10 all-time races that I've seen. Maybe I was biased because I picked Tyler Reddick in our pick points, and I was extremely hyped to see him pull that move off on the last lap. But I just love seeing, like you said, Jarrett, normal people do superhuman things. I called it superhuman on my post-race show as well. Like, I still don't know how he pulled that off. The fact that Blaney and Hamlin afterwards didn't know how he pulled that off. That's awesome. Like, that's when racing is cool.
And dude, we are 312 laps away now from a possibility of Jim France and Steve Phelps having to hand the championship trophy to people that are suing them. And that makes me so giddy.
I don't have a favorite driver. I root for stories. That would be a fun story. I'm just saying that would be.
Full disclosure, I'm taking that one. I want that is the one I want. That's the outcome I want to see. I want to see.
The only thing more interesting would be Denny Hamlin winning it and being the one on stage receiving the trophy. That would be the only thing, perhaps a little more.
I wonder if they
spicy.
interviewed Denny Hamlin and he brought it up, would NBC cut the feed to commercial? Like that, like, because you got to think. I mean, they're the ones that are going to be in bed with NASCAR on this.
I think at this point, Denny is taken. I think now that it's all in the courts, I think he seems to be taking more the high road. Say less and let the legal speak for itself. I don't think he would bring. I think he would be very cordial about it, but there'd be like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge that, yeah, we did this, and we're doing this. So
Michael Jordan doesn't have to hold punches though. What are they going to do? Ban him?
Yeah, I think it's a side note. It's pretty wild that Michael Jordan's been at like every playoff race.
Yeah,
like he's been at like every race.
I mean, he said that this has filled the spot basketball had for him. So,
and it's like you could say that he's also $1 billion, mogul at this point. That talk is cheap. He's at the race more than probably half the owners in the garage. Right? At least the last 10 weeks or so. So that was cool. That was a really cool image that he was one of the first to congratulate. Imagine you're Tyler Reddick. 3 or 4 years ago, people were doubting if you were actually any good. I remember those Xfinity championships. Oh, he's a fluke. He's a Homestead
especially
merchant.
That first one.
Yeah, is he really all this that good? I mean, come on now. Look where he is now. My gosh. Anyway, that's
like
crazy.
We made it.
The American dream right there. Getting a hug from Michael Jordan.
He picked him up off the ground like he was and Jordan called him a kid. Well, to him, he's a kid. He's like half his height.
Yeah.
It's like Willy Wonka and an Oompa Loompa.
Danny had to step out for a moment. He'll be back soon. Let's look at the playoff grid for Cup, if you have that keyed up, Jarrett.
Yeah.
Going into Martinsville, 2 spots have already been claimed by Logano and everything on my computer just went dark for a second. Sorry, Logano and Reddick. See if that comes back. That was weird. Christopher Bell is 29 points to the good. William Byron is +7 points to the good. Kyle Larson is the first driver out. Then Denny Hamlin, manageable 18-point deficit perhaps. Then it's Ryan Blaney -38. Chase Elliott -43. Must-win territory for those two. We kind of glossed over Chase Elliott, but I thought had one of his best races in a long while. Led the most laps. I think he's led in a race all year long. Finished in the top 5, but he is still 43 points out. So those are the points. We'll talk about Martinsville in the second half of the show. Let's talk ratings. Once again, NASCAR Cup Series up in ratings year over year. The Homestead Miami race earned a 1.31 rating, 2.34 million viewers. That's a slight increase in ratings, but a 4% increase in viewership. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think that's now at least 3 or 4 playoff races in a row with year over year increases. So, small gains, but positive nonetheless. NBC got to be loving that. What did you guys think of the Homestead Miami Speedway Cup race? It's time for the famous iceberg poll that I will now read, even though I'm not the iceberg. 12,000 votes. That's a little higher than we've seen in recent weeks. Fans were very passionate about this one. 77% of fans voted great. 16% voted good. 4% said average. And YouTube updated So we used to have 5 selections. We used to have a below average and a bad. We've now just compiled all of it into, one bad category. 3% of people voted bad for the Homestead Miami Speedway race. I don't remember what the race was called. I was about to say the Ford 400, but it hasn't been called that in a decade.
Wireless.
Straight talk. That's what it was. I keep wanting to call it the Ford 400.
Sounds
so
better.
It does. Won by a Toyota. Henry Ford rolling in
Beating
his grave.
a Ford.
Beating a Ford straight up on speed in the final corner. Yikes. Don't show that. We just got banned in Detroit, unfortunately. The stream has just gone off the air.
Bummer.
So that's a 93% net positive. That's got to be one of the highest net positive clips in a long while, Jarrett. 3% negative. What were some of the comments you saw?
Well, the first one was from Calypso, so positive, negative, or meme.
We haven't had rain in a while, but I'm going to say meme.
I think Calypso got Danny.
Uh-oh.
Calypso said this. Won't joke about weather after what happened with the hurricane, but such a great, entertaining race we had today makes me wonder, why isn't this the finale again? I must admit that watching this race was immensely improved by my new favorite souvenir, the ballast I stole from the 48 car before his post-race inspection at Charlotte.
Wow. So that's kind of positive end of meme. Well
That's
played,
pretty good.
Calypso.
Looking at the comments here. Let's see what we got. Florida Rail Production said, "What a finish! It's almost like this track should be hosting the championship." Yeah, I agree. Black Hat said, "I'm a Blaney fan, but that was a fantastic finish. Wow."
Yeah, my dad called me afterwards because he's a Blaney fan now, and he was so conflicted because he also grew up in Illinois, was a massive Chicago Bulls fan during the Jordan years. So he kind of has a soft spot for the 2311 cars, but I could tell he was conflicted. He was like, "It's a great race." He kind of watches it like me nowadays. "Oh, racing's great. Love good racing." But I could tell he was fighting back tears that Blaney didn't get it done.
Well, and then Cito follows this up with Blaney with the biggest choke job yet. Mitch Collins says, "My voice hurts from yelling at the TV through 4. Can't believe he pulled that off on scuffed tires. Epic." And
wow.
I'll further push that point because a lot of people I saw were like, "Oh, it's only a lap or two." It's like we saw what a lap or two could do with bad cars with Kyle Busch and Joey Logano earlier, and even a good car, he fell back on the restart. So I'd say still pretty impressive. Raphael says, "Netflix is crying of joy right now."
That's a good point. This is going to be a hell of an episode in the Netflix show. I'm actually excited to watch that episode now. Very excited.
NASCAR fan 2477 says, "Whoever votes below average bad is A, a Hamlin fan, B, watching the 2002 race from Homestead. What a race." Brassmaster says NASCAR disliked this. And then the gutter comments, the 3 gutters.
Hit us.
First, we've got Johnny here. Saying Larson doing Larson things as of late, over driving and dumping it. Great day in Miami. I'm not a Larson hater, more like a Hendrick team hater.
Oh,
funny. That's probably what a good portion of people accuse me of being.
I just love that, but like broadening their hatred. That's something good. Feed me more.
Let the hate flow through you. Gator Gang for Life says, "I'd much rather have the finale at Phoenix. This was utter BS. Let the Make-A-Wish kid win. Pathetic."
Whoa. What?
I don't even know where that was coming from.
Where did that even come from? Jeez.
And Mike here saying NASCAR sucks.
That's
Game
it?
over, man. Game over.
What a gutter this week, all over the damn place. Well, that was the not the Ford 400. I'm so sorry. The Straight Talk Wireless 400 at Homestead Miami Speedway. One for the ages. I hope we did it justice here in the first half hour of the show. We are closing in on our first Super Chat stage break. Really do appreciate the support tonight. We are also more than halfway to our light goal of 600. Keep them coming, folks. Call your friends. Call your wife. Log your kids into YouTube Kids and hit the like button. Whatever you got to do. Help us get to 600 likes to unlock the random driver of the week. let's talk Xfinity and trucks real quick. The Xfinity race was fine. Austin Hill kind of dominated. I sort of want to talk about that because Austin Hill, I feel, had been hibernating for much of the summer. We think of him as, a super speedway guy. Hadn't done a lot recently, but here he is, an intermediate, getting a big win when he needs it to lock himself into the championship four. What did you make of Austin Hill, Jarrett?
I was expecting Martinsville to be the one he popped up at because he's always been, relatively good there. But I was impressed. I think the team and driver they hooked it up. They had everything hooked up right. And I talked about it earlier, is he won that race by being glued to the white line when nobody else could. We saw it when he made the pass for the lead on Eric Almirola. When Almirola had gotten past him, there was this awesome battle with like 8 guys up front within a second of each other. Late 8th, I think in stage 1, I want to say, might have been 2. And Almirola tried pinning it to the bottom, kind of got a little tighter out of the corner, and Austin Hill just went right underneath him, right past him. It was to the point that when he passed Cole Custer at the end, and I had my post-race chat ready to go, there were people accusing Austin Hill of having a cheated up car. He was pulling away so fast from the 00. And it's like, no, he was just that damn fast. So credit to him.
Yeah, credit to Austin Hill. He locked into the championship four. Do you want to look at the Xfinity playoff grid real quick?
Yeah, let's pop that video.
Yeah. So Austin Hill locks in. So of the 6 remaining, Justin Allgaier is plus 35. Cole Custer is plus 28. Then we have the only drivers who are still mathematically in it here. We got Chandler Smith minus 28, Jesse Love minus 35, Sam Mayer minus 47. Sorry, my screen keeps going dark on me. And then there's Sammy Smith. I don't know what his numbers are.
Out. He's mathematically cannot make it on points. He's like,
he would have to win, I guess. Yeah, you're right. I didn't have to bring up the points. But yeah, Sammy Smith would have to pull off quite the upset at Martinsville to have a shot.
Did you hear on the broadcast? They're like, yeah, basically, like we were already just focused on Martinsville. Like they sold this race. They're like, we know we're gonna suck. We're just gonna focus on the track that Sammy's good at.
Dang. I mean, hey, there's probably a smart strategy, respect the honesty, all things considered.
I mean, it's a tempting pick.
I don't know if we had this lined up later in the show. I don't think we'd really mention it. But I want to mention Chandler Smith minus 28 because after the race, he kind of said, we're going to go out in a blaze of glory at Martinsville, no holds barred, going to be very aggressive because Chandler says he doesn't have a ride for next season. Says he doesn't see very many open rides even available to him at this rate. So I don't know, you guys, if this is the end, and I don't think it is, I think he'll end up somewhere, but let's say for a moment, for the sake of argument, this may be the end of Chandler Smith's racing career, unless he breaks through and wins and gets to the championship four. What do you make of those comments? Danny, what do you make of Chandler Smith's potential future or lack thereof?
Confusing. He's a good driver, but it's like, we're reaching a point where it's hard for good drivers to find much future homes that make sense for them. But also, we're also reaching a point where there's too many Justin Allgaier, there's too many Brandon Jones, there's too many lifers that, are also taking up spots, and you don't want to just do nothing but lifers and prevent other people from coming into the series who have money that they're willing to bring in to those programs. It's just a confusing place to be. And Peter Strada brings a good point. Chandler is a funded driver too, so this makes no sense.
Yeah,
that he doesn't have a ride.
That's the part that's confusing to me. Is like you said, he's a good. I don't know that he's great. He was never great in trucks, and his numbers this year are good in Xfinity, but they're not what John Hunter Nemechek did last year in similar equipment. So he's a good driver, has some funding. Maybe it's not Williams Sawalich level funding, but it's something reasonable. It's something significant, and he's young. It's not like he's 28 years old. You know what you're going to get. Like he's still improving. So like you're saying, Danny, it's confusing, and I would say a little alarming that Chandler Smith can't get a respectable Xfinity Series ride. Like it feels like the only people who can get rides in Xfinity and trucks nowadays are really wealthy drivers, kids with a lot of money, extremely loyal sponsor support, perhaps, or generationally talented drivers like a Connor Zillage, perhaps.
Well, hearing you say that, I know a certain kid from the truck series with a lot of money that may not be needing his good quality truck anymore, that he could take some money to if he wants to just go to the truck series.
Thorsport may have a vacancy. Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. It's kind of a Toyota thing too, if you think about it. Especially when you look at the Corey Haim kind of drama and the fact that like, oh, you know, there's this and that too. And Toyota's just been weird with a lot of that stuff, whether it's funding, getting outbid by other people, whatever it might be. And, you know, I don't blame Chandler Smith for betting on himself, but, you know, say what you want about him. It is a shame that somebody who is very much in contention just about every week, especially early in the season, it was every week. I think it speaks, you know, to how weird that is, but also the business model too. I mean, I think it kind of proves in the truck and Xfinity especially that the whole business model and changing stuff and charters and all that, like that's great and all for Cup, but Cup is not the only place that the business model from the top down is broken, and there needs to be overhauling. Because, sorry, I want to watch Brandon Jones every week when I could have Chandler Smith in that car.
Yeah, I just look at JGR's lineup next year, and I don't mean disrespect to these guys, but Brandon Jones, I'm tired of seeing Brandon Jones out there, like Jarrett said. William Sawalich may be great, but you know, he might be ready for an Xfinity car, but I don't think he's going to light the world on fire right out the gate. And Taylor Gray, we'll see what he has. I just compared JGR's lineup of 3 pay drivers. A couple of them might have real talent. I'm not going to sell them short. They might have very real talent versus Junior Motorsports, who, yes, they have a Sammy Smith on their roster, sure, but they're going out and getting the Connor Zillages through Trackhouse. Obviously, Justin Allgaier, we know he's very, very good. So I just kind of compare
Carson Quapple.
Those. Oh, yeah. And how could I forget? And Carson Quapple, another sort of, I don't want to say Dale Jr. protege, but a young kid who he truly believes has the talent to go far. Like Junior Motorsports outside of Sammy Smith has signed, I think, the best available drivers, while JGR is letting one of the best available drivers, Chandler Smith, walk in favor of guys who bring somehow even more money than Chandler Smith. So that's why it's like, it just, like you said, the model is broken, and this is like maybe one of the more glaring examples of that.
It's getting to be a weird point in things because think of it like this: if for some reason Chandler Smith was just unable to get the ride that we feel he's capable of, you know, we saw James Busher walk away from NASCAR, end up becoming, I think, a real estate agent, pretty successful one at that. Now he was the guy who found success as a champion in the sport, and you know, ultimately just stepped away from it when it didn't make any sense anymore. We've seen guys who looked like they had a lot of potential, like Dylan Kwasniewski. He didn't pan out in the long term with the way the system was even back then. Myatt Snyder, a driver who has, you know, a dad, you know, as a legendary person in the sport and other realms of it. He won a race for RCR as a full-time driver not even that many years ago, and I think he's just now getting an opportunity to race some in the series this year with the 91 with Treetop Apple Juice, I think is a sponsor that's got him. They were on with him last year when he had some part-time starts for Joe Gibbs Racing. So we're seeing guys that look like they should have a lot of potential and future in the sport that are struggling to find a spot.
And Blaney Best in the chat brings up another driver, Brett Moffitt, who
clearly, champion, not even that many years ago.
Well, and
now he's in like a random truck this weekend.
Clearly elevated AM racing. Like that has become much more impressive now, and he barely can get any work. So it's the worry for me is that yes, there's more money being infused into the sport with the CW contract and Xfinity and some of these other contracts. But if those don't work and there's less people watching, the need for more sponsor dollars and eyes in that way, it's only going to get worse. And so it's like there has to be some kind of fix. And it's like, you know, it's great if you fix the Cup side of it and you got Michael Jordan fighting for that and whatever. But is Michael Jordan really going to fight for, you know, Chandler Smith, Corey Haim, Brett Moffitt, whoever else in these lower series that is either stuck or can't move because you need to have a big paycheck? No, it's not in his interest needs, at least not right now.
Yeah. Now, I will say there's a team out there that I think as so long as there's no stupid ties that Toyota's going to hold him in there, he should probably look at, Ryan Sieg's team potentially, because that's a team that's been putting out race winning capable equipment. As we've seen of Ryan Sieg, it's
Yeah.
capable of it. It just hasn't been able to get it done yet. And he would bring that team some good funding, provided it comes along with him as well.
The question I have about Sieg and that team is, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they are connected with Stewart Haas Racing. So when you have this big change, the way Stewart Haas Racing goes is the way that team could go. I don't know if they've split or anything like that. And that's why I'm like, man, they're finding something. Like, there's lightning in a bottle being caught. And I hope that next year they can carry that, because if they do, like, Ryan Sieg should be able to point his way in. I mean, he just went from being, in the teens, and it's a nice story, he's in the top 10, to it's like last couple of weeks, Ryan Sieg's in the top 10. Oh, he's in the top 5. That's where he should be. Like, he should be there. And it's awesome.
If for some reason, because I know obviously Haas is still going to be around, if that equipment can still stay somewhat the same as it is in that series, that'd be great. Because, I mean, let's be real, Chandler Smith can go in there and wave enough money to get Matt DiBenedetto out of her car.
Well, I think that team actually was talking of, like, because that's like the Viking Motorsport one. They're
I don't
talking
know.
about actually
it's separate. I thought
splitting
it's the same team. I'm sorry.
now. Well, and they're talking about fully separating going into next year.
Yeah,
If that's the case, then sure, they'll go do their own thing. I thought that was the same team, so I apologize.
I mean,
they're closely linked. Yeah. So
I mean, at one point, maybe Kyle Sieg has to make a business decision, be like, "Oh, what's better to have in this car? A driver that can bring some money and talent with it, or to keep the brothers racing?" So it's like, that's an idea.
The chat is, hearing this conversation. I just saw a name that I haven't thought of in a little bit, and he's gone instantly already, but it's partly his own doing. Drew Dollar. I mean, he was looking promising, and then just Drew Dollared himself right out of. You haven't heard of him in years.
Remember that Daytona race with him, where it's like, wow, he's getting that right, and he's done. It's like a South Park skit.
Well, this has been a good conversation. I kind of want to add to it when we move over to the truck race, because we're talking about young drivers with potential who have funding, and then other drivers with funding who maybe don't have the potential or could see their careers become short-lived. Like you mentioned, Drew Dollar.
Drew Penny, according to Spencer.
Drew Dimes.
Drew pennies on the dollar. Grant Enfinger wins the truck race, fuel mileage race, back-to-back, continues to shut his competition out of the championship for. That's awesome. Don't want to gloss over that. But the storyline was, of course, 18-year-old Connor Jones wrecking Matt Mills for like 19th place, wrecking him on purpose, venting about it over the radio, getting parked for 2 laps, and then today getting suspended for the Martinsville race. Oh, and in the background, Matt Mills spent 2 nights in the hospital after too much smoke inhalation. Luckily, he seems to be okay, on the mend. But Connor Jones, basically everyone who's commented on this says the same thing. Kid's way too immature. He's going to have to come to his senses if he's going to have a long, successful career in NASCAR. Funding can take you far, but it can't take you everywhere you need to go. You can't be you can't lack total self-awareness and still make it in this sport. Drew Dollar is a great example of that, as we just mentioned. So, Jarrett, what was your reaction to Connor Jones, Matt Mills, and how this has been handled?
I'll start with the Matt Mills part because I'm happy that he's out of the hospital. Sounds like it was completely in there. He was in there because of smoke inhalation. There was a lot of fire in there. I was worried if he got burned.
Oh yeah, the whole cockpit was gray when as he was climbing out.
So I want to say I'm happy that he's doing well, going to be racing this weekend. Connor Jones, I'm not surprised. I mean, I've known stuff behind the scenes about him for a while. I've known that his reputation in late models. I've seen how journalists see him. Bianchi and others have talked about him. I saw how drivers talked about him this weekend. Raja Caruth being one that was pretty outspoken. This doesn't surprise me at all. And I want him to have the opportunity to come back from this. I do, I want drivers to have a second chance. I feel like you have to do a really horrible thing to not deserve some kind of second chance. He's, 18, all that. That's not an excuse. I saw some people, he's only 18. It's like, yeah, that still makes it a problem. You can be
12 if you're in the big leagues of stock car racing. You need to be held to the standard of the big leagues of stock car racing.
What happens if we just say, he's just 18, and we just let him keep getting away with that? Well, he's just 24, and he's still
just a boy.
Where I took kind of discretion with how it was handled is, I think he should have been taken off the track personally. He's been a weapon. I mean, that's the best way to describe him. He has been a weapon all the way up the ranks. All this year, he has been a nuisance to a lot of people, causing incidents, giving up on his team at North Wilkesboro. People don't remember that part, that he basically just quit on him. You know, like, I can't do this. And they basically told him, man up, Buttercup.
I forgot about that.
And then he does this where he dives down in 3-4 truck lengths more than he should, sends Matt Mills up into the wall into the hospital. He gets a 2-lap penalty for all of this. But I'd get if, you know, he was a first-time offender, didn't have an issue or whatever. Yeah, okay, a 2-lap penalty, aggressive driving. But he has this reputation. He has not improved. He has only gotten worse. And I personally think the truck series needs to be... what's the right word? It needs to be more strictly governed. The adults need to step in. Sucks for the guys that have been doing stuff right. He got compared to Carson Hocevar a lot this week. Thing is, Carson Hocevar can back it up. Like, Carson Hocevar can do dumb stuff and then turn around the next week and be running with Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, William Byron, and Chase Elliott and beat a lot of them during the day. Whereas Connor Jones has not proven that. So I zero tolerance at this point. And I will say this, for the rest of the field's sake, I'm happy he got suspended this week because he has not proven he can handle Martinsville. Now, Johnny Sauter's in the car or truck, so that's not necessarily too much of an improvement for the bottom of the field. But I'm sick of these dumb things, and the thing that is really scary is that if Phoenix devolves again, Connor Jones will be part of it this time.
Yeah, well, he'll only add to the flames. What I was going to say, though, to your point about sort of running the truck series on a short leash, that should have been the case since Phoenix of last year. I think this whole year, that's sort of been the philosophy. That's why Lane Riggs got parked for 2 laps earlier in the season. And so I will say, whenever NASCAR makes a big call like this, I look for consistency. I look for precedent. And at first glance, I'm like, there really is no precedent for suspending Connor Jones. He didn't right rear anyone. He didn't wreck anyone under caution. He wasn't 20 laps down, plowing the leader into the outside wall. Like, I'm not going to say I didn't disagreed with the call, but I was saying there is no precedent for it. So this is them setting a new precedent that says, hey, these hotshot 18-year-olds who are obviously immature, don't have the maturity to be trusted with massive race cars at high speeds. We are going to watch you more closely from here on out. It happened to Lane Riggs. It's happened here to Connor Jones. So this was NASCAR setting a new precedent, I think, in the wake of the Carson Hocevar deal, really all of last year, but especially at Phoenix. To your point about Hocevar, and I could throw even Ty Gibbs into the mix here, they both had very immature outbursts in recent years, but they both also, I think, shown that they have the speed to back it up. But more than anything, they have demonstrated an ability to mature. Hocevar this year, I think, has been pretty clean in Cup. He's had a few moments here and there, but he hasn't done anything outlandish that I can think of.
His nose clean for the most part.
Ty Gibbs, I remember, he swerved at a guy on pit road a year or two ago, and maybe had one other, the incident with McDowell at Wilkesboro. That wasn't that significant. He's overall cleaned it up since the low lights of his Xfinity days. So Connor Jones, one, has to now prove to us he's as talented as those guys, but then he'll also have to prove to everyone that he's able to mature the way those guys so far seem to have matured at least a little bit. And I think this is a wake-up call. This is NASCAR setting a new precedent that if you have a bad reputation, we'll drop the hammer on you. We don't care. Like, this message needs to get delivered one way or another.
It's not only NASCAR, because he's been here a limited time. And it's Cars Tour guys. It's people that raced him. Well, that's what's been so interesting. Short track racing. Because
I'd heard what other people, and I've heard what you've said about him that you've heard. I've obviously heard some of the reporters talk about him this week, but I didn't realize just how bad his reputation was outside of NASCAR until this happened. And now I'm like, oh, I think that also played into NASCAR's decision. They're like, we got to nip this in the bud. He can't be trusted on our racetrack. We got to send a message quickly. And that's part of why he was suspended.
I'll say this too, because I want every driver to have a fair shot in whatever way. And if they can make it, they can make it. If not, they don't. But the way that he has not been able to back up anything really on the racetrack and then follow that up with acting like an immature brat. I mean, that's the way he acted. The way he acted was like a little 6-year-old brat who didn't get their way, screaming over the radio, cussing up a storm, throwing a tantrum on the racetrack. He acts like that, he's not going to move up, because we have seen it proven with some of the biggest stars of racing name-wise, like Danica Patrick, where money will only take you so far before your ass is out, and I don't think he has as long a leash as any of the people we've talked about so far. If he does not
Agreed.
straighten this stuff out by 21, he will be working with his dad's business and not as a race car driver, and that's the truth for a lot of these young kids.
That's
Get ready to learn real estate, buddy.
I love that. I love that meme.
Get ready to learn about closing costs, pal. Playoff grid for the Truck Series. Enfinger is still the only driver locked in. Corey Heim, though, virtually locked in, is plus 49 points. Christian Eckes plus 38. Ty Majeski rounding out the big three is plus 22. Then it's Raja Karuth, Taylor Gray, Tyler Ankrum, and then Nick Sanchez. Most of these guys, I would say, in must-win territory, headed to Martinsville. Going to beat and bang in the truck race. Excited for that. Also dreading it slightly. Well, that has been the first half, of the NASCAR Weekly podcast. We are over 400 likes on my end on the stream, closing in on our goal of 600. Help us get there. Unlock the Random Driver of the Week segment. Let's get through our first batch of Super Chats. It's time for the Super Chat stage break. Fred Dog 81 sent a Super Chat earlier, said, we're halfway to the trolliest Final Four. 11 obviously would be number 3, but who, as the 4th playoff guy, would drive NASCAR officials and or fans into a rage? So obviously Logano, people hate him and how he got there. Then you get the 2311 car, that's controversial. Hamlin is controversial. Who would be the 4th guy? Would it be Chase Elliott? You know, Elliott's got a lot of fans, but people love to hate on Chase Elliott no matter what he does.
Would go insane if that happened.
I could see it being Chase Elliott. Bell is pretty. Nobody hates Bell. Nobody hates Byron, really. He's just kind of there.
Well, maybe that's why it is, because people are just like, he's just the other guy there at Hendrick.
Who
I
wins
think
a
it would
lot?
be Chase Elliott. Or if Blaney makes it and shuts Hendrick out of the Final Four entirely, that'd be pretty.
That might be it.
That would be pretty crazy.
I could see that. I could see all the Elliott fans being salty and being like, Byron got the better car there in this round.
I do notice a lot of infighting amongst Hendrick fans compared to other teams when it comes to.
Hey, think I feel I'm the 4th Hendrick car.
Denny B to the
CBB.
48 car.
Thank you for the 10. Thank you guys for the show every week, particularly your dedication to avoiding politics. I can't say enough about how much I appreciate that. For 2+ hours a week, I can relax and not hear about anything political. Well, now that you said that, CBB, no, I'm just
Mr.
kidding.
Frog has the best policy.
if I can just say anything, we don't try to do that. We don't try to tell you anything about politics. We won't say anything about that part. But if you haven't, or if you are able to, please go vote. That's all I will say.
Mr. Frog needs your vote.
That's as far as it gets.
I don't know who Mr. Frog is. I can't stand for his policies, but I do appreciate the comment, CBB. I know, I think the way the three of us feel is it's not our place to preach politics. I know I personally am not a super politically inclined person. We're here to talk racing and have a good time doing it.
How
So
did I miss this?
glad people get that.
Believe me, I don't like to get into the details. I hear enough of it with my full-time job. I don't need it here.
Vote for
Calypso.
Pedro, man.
Calypso sent 5 and says, hello, Danny B. How do you feel about the 48's ballast from Charlotte being in my possession during his post-race inspection? I think you stepped away during this part, Danny, but Calypso said that they are the reason Bowman was underweight. I don't know if you have a retort to Calypso, the sea goddess.
Jared, why didn't you just read the stupid book? This wouldn't have happened.
It's more interesting now.
Nash Carson 2414 says, hey, NWP guys, Homestead, Trucks, shock Enfinger, and glad Jones is suspended. Xfinity Austin Hill shocks the fans, and boring car spins. Interesting summary. And the Cup, best finish in Homestead history. Boring car spins still. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean like Justin Haley spinning out a couple times is kind of boring? I'll give you that. That's anticlimactic.
I do think, is the 7 cursed?
I think it might be.
Like,
it might absolutely be.
They just can't catch a break.
Twice, though, now Justin Haley spun in the 7 due to, maybe you could argue, a miscommunication with his spotter, which I find interesting. I want to quickly mention this as well, because I did notice my feed refreshed, and the first super chat of the night from Napa Racing Fan 927 did not reload. I see Napa Racing Fan in the chat. If you just want to comment normally what your super chat was, Napa Racing Fan, we can read it here in a moment. I did want to apologize for that. Not sure why it disappeared on my end. So if you remember what you said, Napa Racing Fan, feel free to leave it in the normal comments and we'll be sure to respond.
They just said thank you. That was it. They said thank you.
Oh, that was their comment. Yeah, okay. You're welcome. No, well, I'll keep an eye on that. We'll answer his question after the super chat, not the super chat, the lightning round.
Strike.
Oh my goodness.
That was actually as soon as you went back, you got struck.
Oh geez. What do we got, Jarrett?
We got actually a good little bit tonight. So starting out, of course, we have our main NWP channel that we re-upload all these on. So if you can't catch them live, catch them there. Also, you can catch up during the fast approaching off season. Dun dun dun. So letting you know there. Plus, we might have some cool stuff either in the off season or next year. You got to keep an eye out for that. Justin Allgaier and Brandt have signed a 2-year extension with JRM, according to Bob Pockrass. So good news there.
Good for him.
Unfortunately,
how old is he now? Is he 39? Is he 40? He's not 40 yet, is he? I'll look it up.
Yeah, you look it up and let me know. On bad news front, Brett Holmes Racing has closed operations from NASCAR permanently starting, well, this week. So
he's 38 years old, Allgaier is, according to the Googles.
Irwindale Speedway will cease operations on December 21st as well. Another sad loss for racing fans. Another track.
Yeah, I'd never been, but from what I understand, that was a really nice facility. And Southern California fans continue to lose access to quality oval racing.
I've only been out to Southern California a few times, but I know it's expensive not just going to be a tourist there, let alone live and operate a business. So I'm not shocked, unfortunately.
And Auto Club Speedway at the moment, no update. And
I'm not feeling hopeful about that. Just put it out there.
I will leave a kernel of hope until anything is announced otherwise. But the way it looks and how close they've built all the buildings already, it's like I don't see how they put a viable racetrack there without some kind of work.
The developers knew what they were doing with this plan.
Yeah, and then also, I'm okay with it, as sad as it makes me, but I keep getting tagged with the updates of Rockford Speedway. It's gone. All that's left is the building of the grandstand. So a little sad lightning round for track. So go. The moral of the story: go support your local racetracks. That is the moral of this story. Whether it be a local short track that is just in the middle of nowhere that holds 4,000 people, whether it be a NASCAR track you really like. Firsthand, I've lost both in the last 5 years. Just support local racing.
Support your local short track, even if Connor Jones is reduced to racing there only.
Damn. Shit, man.
Go support your local pig racing at the county fair, whatever it takes.
Go support your local demolition derby, everybody.
On another front here, this might be positive for you Bubba Wallace fans. He'll have a new crew chief in Charles. I think is it Denecke?
I believe it's Denecke.
Denecke, okay. He's a current crew chief for Christian Eckes. Booty Barker will move to the competition department, competition role at 2311. So changes, and on top of them, technically, if you look statistically, having far and away Bubba Wallace's best season yet, but change. I admire wanting to be great, not good. I admire that. Very Michael Jordan of them. And
Booty's had a long career. I think he's overdue for a position like that.
And then next week will be on my channel. Last show of the year on my channel, November 6th. Should be a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun stuff for that one.
You can celebrate your birthday a few days late.
Woo!
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Woo!
Woo! We could really celebrate my birthday this week with getting 150 more likes to hit that like goal.
That would be the ultimate birthday present. Yes.
If you guys don't want to play this week, I get it. I do have a lead in that game right now, so I'm kind of okay if we just skip this one. It helps me get a little bit closer. So I totally get it. I really do.
But that's the lightning round, as I accidentally put the truck grid on because OBS glitched on me. We might, you know what?
It's time to talk about the truck series again. Let's go.
On air production meeting for a second. We might not even have the OBS side of it next year. I don't know. We might do different stuff. There might be something different next year. We don't know.
Going back to Google Hangouts.
Yeah.
Season 1.
We'll go to Microsoft Teams.
I'm going to go live on my channel. Jarrett will go live on his channel. Eric will go live on his channel. We're all going to somehow communicate by watching each other's live streams.
I like the idea of that. It'll be like a 7-second delay.
It's like the world's worst game of telephone.
Yikes. Well,
But what do we got in the second half, Eric?
that was the lightning round. Real quick, Napa Racing fan left their comment. I do remember seeing this now. Their super chat at the beginning of the show was Connor Jones got replaced by a driver who once got suspended for doing the same thing on the same team. His replacement should have been Preece. He could inspire him to be better and say, don't do that. So perfect way to tie up our Connor Jones conversation. Thank you for the super chat, Napa Racing fan. Apologies again for the weird YouTube glitch. Glad we could share that. That's funny. Second half of the show, I haven't really dug into this one too much, but I saw it was making the rounds a couple days ago. What's this going on in Saudi Arabia? They're building some futuristic speed racer looking racetrack out there, and apparently some leaked graphics suggest NASCAR could race there in 6 years. Is that what I'm seeing, Jarrett?
It sounds more like it's just concepts of what they'd like to see.
Well, no, it's people so NASCAR was highlighted in the ones they've talked to about planning a date. Not that it's been put in yet, but yeah, they're wanting to do some sports washing with their blood money, and the track's been in the works a while. Talks have been in the works for a while. Ben Kennedy has actually went over to the Middle East, I think they said in different reports, on top of other places around the world for international racing. You got to remember too that they also were rumored, Saudi Arabia was, to buy up SRX.
Yeah,
so,
I remember that.
they want to get rid of their bad reputation with some sports washing. And listen, NASCAR fans are a very finicky bunch, right? And
I wouldn't say racing in Saudi Arabia scratches that itch.
Yeah, I don't.
NASCAR fans.
I don't think that's gonna work. And plus, I saw the design for the track. There's like this one, I don't know if it's like a 90 or like a very tight corner that's like 30 feet off the ground. Like one guy gets a stuck throttle with that thing, they're flying and they're dying. I'm sorry, which I get. Maybe that's like a normal thing to see around Saudi Arabia, but I don't want to see that. Sorry. Well, not sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not going to apologize for wanting NASCAR to not go over to a country that would probably, if they wanted to, throw members of their sport off a building. Sorry. Wow. I would much rather we stick to better countries.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of. This would be purely a money play.
Yep.
I don't feel like there's any fan that would be excited. Any American fan, I should say, that would be excited about this move. Maybe fans in Saudi Arabia and in the Middle East would be super excited for these big, loud American muscle cars to come roaring down their streets. Sure. Yeah, maybe it would be great. Maybe it would be really futuristic, look like something out of Cars 2. Maybe it would be awesome. I don't want to just shoot it down off rip, but it's not something that particularly interests me. I obviously, yeah, like you mentioned, Saudi Arabia has been tied to many professional sports leagues now over the past few years. I just don't feel this is something that NASCAR needs to hitch their wagon to necessarily. I do think they'd be better suited aiming at other countries, other regions. But again, the money is the money. I can't deny that. So
I know
we'll see what they end up doing.
They talked about like a Middle Eastern series or a different series going there. And it's like, well, I can assure you, I will not watch that. I'm sorry. I won't.
If they set up their own like a NASCAR Euro Series that's basically just based there in Saudi Arabia, they have investors there in Saudi Arabia, they have team owners there in Saudi Arabia. Okay, that's just its own thing. That's just a new NASCAR international brand at that point. But it sounds more like they would want the big one. Like look, the WWE Championship right here at my thumb. WWE's been going to Saudi Arabia now at least once, sometimes twice a year for a big show. I think since around 2016 that started. It's been controversial from the very beginning. At the beginning, they wouldn't have any of the women's wrestlers compete there. Then after a few years, they let some of the women wear big like double XL shirts. It looked weird. Now they've evolved to where they can wear more like just an outfit that just kind of covers everything to here. So it's been interesting watching from the WWE fans' perspective on that point, how that's evolved over the years. Slowly it's gotten better, but also WWE is now pushing more towards just other countries in general. They're not just staying in the United States. They have a show in France, Germany, all kinds of other countries. And then I think this weekend, actually, the Saudi Arabia show there, ironically enough.
I'd be fine with NASCAR pushing other countries. I just don't want them going to this country. There's certain countries like I don't really want them going to, just because like I would not want members of the industry and media and them. Like there's some people that would genuinely be unsafe in some of these countries.
Yeah, I do. I feel NASCAR often has tried to like shadow the NFL in a lot of respects. And to my knowledge, the NFL does not play any games, at least not yet, in Saudi Arabia. But like the NFL goes to London and Germany and played in Brazil recently. We've heard NASCAR linked to Brazil. So
Mexico.
I don't know.
That's another one.
Mexico, great example.
Canada.
I would let I would let other major sports leagues break through that door first. I don't think this is one that NASCAR needs to rush, to lead the charge on, so to speak. But obviously, we don't know the business of it. Maybe there's
Okay.
maybe it's a no-brainer.
This is
Hard
pretty
to say.
funny. Ross Chastain, Brett Griffin in Saudi Arabia would be
that.
hysterical to watch. That
That's
would be
probably true.
I would listen to that episode of Door Bumper Clear right after that.
See, okay, just bear with me here, because we're trying to get. You can't talk about Saudi Arabia and not get a little political. So it kind of
Wait, we watch out for the super chat that we got.
But like I've seen several things that I know there's a young prince in Saudi Arabia. MBS is what most people know him as. He's been labeled by many as a little bit different from some of the other royalties there, and he's kind of been pushing for more of this futuristic Saudi Arabia and all that. But it's still just such a hard reputation to get past. I mean, it's there's been talks that they want to normalize peace agreements with several countries like on all sides of it in the Middle East. So Saudi Arabia is an interesting animal right now. I think they're approaching it as sports and entertainment as an entryway into some of those other talks.
I just don't want my sport in it.
Well, we can talk something else we're probably unqualified to speak about, and that is the ongoing legal battle between NASCAR and 2311 Front Row Motorsports. I know today there was another filing from the teams responding to NASCAR's response to the teams. It would be very difficult to try and summarize everything that's been said the past week, but effectively it comes down to the teams claim that NASCAR is a monopoly. They act like bullies. NASCAR's pushed back against claims of being a monopoly, arguing that, hey, the France family's always owned the tracks. Doesn't matter that we brought them in-house in 2018 or 19. Like, that was always part of the France family. ARCA was never serious competition. That's what NASCAR says. So who cares that we bought up ARCA? They're not a real competitor of ours. They're not at our level. I don't know. I guess my reaction to reading some of the most, and I haven't read everything that was filed today, but stuff that had been filed last week on both sides I'd read. My takeaway is that I think I agree with a lot of the team's complaints and agree with them that, hey, NASCAR probably should be run differently. I think the current NASCAR leadership group, mainly the France family, are still in many ways too stubborn. And I think that's holding this entire industry back in some respects. Not everyone. Obviously, Ben Kennedy, very forward thinking, has been pushing hard, trying to make some big changes. I think Steve Phelps in many ways has good ideas, is sort of a middleman between the France family and the rest of the industry. But by and large, I just feel that a family-owned billion-dollar sports organization is fraught with peril. I made the comparison on my show to my now local Dallas Cowboys. A lot of locals don't like Jerry Jones. They think he's too stubborn. It's my way or the highway. It's like when you're dealing with a big company like this, a lot of moving parts, sometimes it's better to let other people in, to be more collaborative. And I don't feel NASCAR has been that way. So when the teams push back against NASCAR and say they've been strong-arming us, this is bad, I think they're right. But after reading these documents, let me just say, I guess I'm not confident that they have a winning legal battle here. Like, I think it's going to be very tough to win. They very well might, but I think NASCAR has a lot of defenses naturally built in, that it's anyone who's suggesting that the teams are easily going to take NASCAR to court and wipe the floor with them. I think that's naive to assume that it's going to be an easy battle for either side. I think this is likely going to go on for as long as these two sides are willing to spend the money. That's the way I feel.
the thing for NASCAR is, and this is the big difference I think between this time and other times, is now you have somebody who can spend as much money as you with MJ. Like this goes to me, this entire argument goes as far as Michael Jordan wants to take it. Like if he wants to take it all the way, it's going all the way. If he gets bored with it or he's like it's not worth it, he'll bow out. Like I think his net worth is like the same as the France family's net worth. So it's, not necessarily as much net worth is as much you can spend on or whatever, but that's neither here nor there. But I don't see them letting that go anytime soon. But I am with you on the fact that, each week we hear a new report that is clearly biased to one side or the other for the most part, of NASCAR being like, we're confident in this. And people are like, oh no, the teams are going to lose. Then they'll be like, they're bullies. We're confident. Oh, they're going to beat them. And it's like, it's just all legalese to me. And
yeah. Sorry, I mean, didn't mean to cut you off, but that's how I feel too. Is again, none of us here are legal scholars, but when I read NASCAR's defense, I'm like, they make some good points. But then I go and read 2311 in front row's response, and I'm like, yeah, no, I agree. I think they're right in the right. Like they're pushing for the right things. So that's where I just feel it's going to clash and clash and clash. What'll be really interesting is, I believe next week that preliminary injunction hearing will be heard. 4th. November 4th. So that is what?
Monday.
Oh yeah, Monday. Oh, sneaking up on us. And so hopefully shortly thereafter, we will get a decision on that, which I don't know if that's going to tell us anything about how the case will go, but that at least will present some clarity on 2025, because that will determine whether or not Front Row and 2311 get to keep their current charters, which from a business standpoint affects them tremendously. So I don't know. It's all just, it's getting to the point now where it's just back and forth, both sides shouting, both sides, I think, making logical, valid points. I just don't know where it's going to go. It's sort of, that's why I feel like this is potentially going to go on for as long as people fear it will.
We've gotten past the fun part to me. Like the fun part is like you find out all this stuff. Oh my God, they're going to go this far, whatever. Now you get to the part that I think a lot of people would see as the boring part that they're just going to skim over and ignore. And then we'll get back to the fun part if like something actually happens. Kinda,
once their final decisions being made,
I kind of liken it to the SMI efforts at the fairgrounds, right? Like people ignored it for so long because it wasn't realistic. Then some actual progress happened. We learned stuff. It's like, oh my God, this is huge. And now everyone's back to just skimming over it until we find something out that's actually really good until maybe, I don't know, like January, February.
Because right now it's all a bunch of, city council meetings and random hearings. It's like nobody's tracking all that. Everyone's just waiting for a decision to be made.
Let's be honest, no one living here really even cares about that. Like how many people, Danny, would we know that are like, oh my God, I got to be at the edge of my seat Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. city council meeting, baby. Woo, let's go. Like, it's like Dotson, we got Dotson here. See, no one cares.
There's like 5 F1 tracks they could be caring about instead.
Yeah. That we'll go to the F1 track Highland Rim. Like, so
I'm with you though, Jared. It's the fun part is past for now.
Yeah.
That's why I'm interested in this hearing. The decision on the hearing will be the next moment, because what was interesting was hearing both sides lay out their initial argument, but now they're just sort of regurgitating the same points back and forth at each other. I want to see what this judge decides. Then, that's interesting.
I just so want this to just go as far as I want to take it. I want to find stuff out, man. I'm just super interested.
What I thought was wild in one of the statements NASCAR put out last week was when they talked about ARCA not being a real competitor. They redacted the exact dollar amount they spent on ARCA. That hasn't been made public yet. But the way they phrased it is, we bought ARCA for only X dollars. I'm like, damn, the word only, so disrespectful to ARCA. We got it was a flash sale. It was like picking something up at a rummage sale,
And I don't care how much of an ARCA homer you are. The most ARCA homer people, like everyone knew, we're not competing with NASCAR. Like that, we all knew that. And so it's like anyone who looked into that argument was going to be like, really? Like this is saying the USFL was going to take down the NFL.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. I'm laughing at the chat. Interesting stuff. I'm this time next week. Tune in on the Iceberg next Wednesday. We'll hopefully there'll be a decision made. Maybe we can talk about the results of that hearing. In the meantime, Tony Stewart was on his old buddy Kevin Harvick's podcast earlier in the week. Thought this was going to be interesting because remember early in the year, Kevin Harvick was kind of critical of Tony Stewart and Gene Haas on his show about how absent they've been. Remember the comments when he raced with Hendrick that it's nice to see the owner more than once a year or whatever he said, like he's been kind of critical of Tony, but they sat down, had a very cordial conversation. And of course, the topic of why is Stewart Haas shutting down was at the forefront of the conversation. And I don't have any direct quotes in front of me, but in so many words, Tony Stewart said that now feels like the right time. From a financial perspective, from an interest perspective, he is enjoying racing, drag racing. Obviously, he and his wife are expecting their first kid, I think sometime pretty soon. He sounds very happy with his life outside of NASCAR. Beyond that, he made the comment that modern NASCAR is not the same as it once was. And he pointed out the recent difficulties in finding sponsorship. Used to be easy to find a full season corporate sponsor. Now you're scratching together new sponsors every week, every month, trying to piece together a full season. It's a grind. It's not what it once was. There was a lot there. There was, but I will also say, I don't think anything was shocking. I think we all kind of knew Tony Stewart had lost interest in NASCAR in the last couple of years. And I think we all knew that Stewart Haas had fallen on financial hard times with Smithfield pulling out, Busch Beer pulling out, Ford dropping their technical support or at least reducing it. I don't know. Was there anything that jumped out at you, Jarrett, that surprised you about Tony's podcast appearance?
No, I think it's just they publicly said it. I mean, kind of like I said, all the sponsors pulling out. Like the only one who was pulling out was Tony. So like at this point, but not, and I don't blame him. Like what's there for him to gain anymore in NASCAR? Like what? Like think about it. Like what really is there for him to gain? His team wasn't competitive. His manufacturer wasn't allowing him to get the drivers he wanted. And on top of all of that, he would have been second fiddle anywhere else he went. If he went to Toyota, he would have been second fiddle to Gibbs. If he went to Chevrolet, he was going to be second fiddle to Hendrick and whoever else was in favor as the alliance team. Like this was the time for him to get out of this sport. Sponsor wise, he's right. It's not the same. And even before this, effort wise, Tony was not, based on what people have reported and said, and based on how little he was really seen at the racetrack. I mean, MJ's been seen more this year than I think Tony was seen in the last 10. He wasn't exactly putting in the effort as an owner. He was doing his own thing. I mean, I remember, him being, he's at this race during big NASCAR races. So, I think it's a big loss for NASCAR and the fact that a huge name is gone. In that respect. But I think that loss that NASCAR has been getting from that has been chipped away at the sport over and over and over again, year after year. And so now we're just feeling it more and more. It's worrisome. It's really worrisome. I think that somebody who is one of the best drivers ever in this sport can't in any way really attract any sponsors without Kevin Harvick breaking his back to carry his team.
Yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Danny, but yeah, Tony Stewart, I think you hit on something there at the end, Jarrett, that losing that big name, there's a lot of big names from our generation, makes us sound old, that are still around. Obviously, Dale Jr. is still very much around. Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, very much active. But to lose Tony Stewart, yeah, that is a big name that a lot of folks still gravitate towards. What did you make of Tony's exit, Danny?
I'm not shocked. I guess that's just all I really feel about it. I mean, Tony has always been the guy to be vocal about things when he's not been happy with the way NASCAR is going, and this doesn't feel like Tony Stewart's NASCAR. And I think if you were someone who appreciates the old school, the old guard a little bit, this seeing Tony Stewart fall out of love of NASCAR has got to hurt you a little bit, and you really got to now cling on to somebody like Kyle Busch just to be like your last shrivel of what used to be, more or less,
Yeah.
I kind of think about it, and you look at the big names of the previous generation that have retired, left, and whatnot, and you look at their relationship with Cup in particular. Tony Stewart is backing out. Jimmy Johnson, he's trying. He's there, even if he's not seen, other than when he's crashing. Jeff Gordon likes to remain more in the shadows, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. refuses to go to Cup.
And Martin Truex is getting ready to go fishing.
I don't put Truex on their tier, though, just fame-wise and star-wise. I'm just more saying, if you look at that, they're not incentivized in any way to go to Cup, and that's an issue. Or incentivized to be out there more. Jeff Gordon's the only one that's actually putting his neck and skin on the line for any of it, and even then, it's more of we're just going to sit back and let them do their thing, whatever.
Not from a team owner perspective, but Dale Jr., the personality is still very present. And I would also I know he's still racing, but I would lump Denny Hamlin into that mix.
But I think the point is, he's not really he's not putting the money there. The biggest name in NASCAR will not put money in Cup because of how kind of broken this all is.
Oh yeah, if we're talking about
we're talking the ownership, the business, the money kind of thing. And if the most influential person, I argue, in the last 20 years of NASCAR will not put their money where their mouth is on the Cup side, there's an issue with the business model that's this huge.
The thing is, for Dale Jr., going to Cup, why should he have to go put money into something that won't make as much money in the long term in regards to what he's currently doing?
That's what I'm saying.
He'll make a lot more money having 4 successful and on occasion a 5th successful Xfinity car out there. He'll make more money running a successful media company. He'll make more money being a partner in a successful vodka company.
It's less risky. I think that's the big thing. They're all less risky. It's less risky to partner with Budweiser and sell $500,000 worth of merchandise in 1 week.
He still sells merchandise for days every year by only running 3 races a year. The man doesn't have to go put his money into something that will fail.
But my point, I think the big point too is this is the only major sport where having a team is a huge risk. Look at every other major sport. There is no risk in any way, as much as they suck, that the Carolina Panthers will be kicked out of the NFL.
That they're going to lose their investments. No, you're exactly right. And that's why, going back to the legal argument, I'm like, everything the teams are arguing, not everything, but most of what the teams are arguing, I'm like, yes, great point. My point earlier was that I just don't know that their legal case that NASCAR is a monopolistic bully is going to actually work. But at the end of the day, I kind of hope the sport does evolve to be run a little more like some of these stick and ball sports with legitimate franchises that do protect the team's investments more than they currently are.
I see people, we're talking about motorsports, not stick and ball sports. And it's my point more is that I don't want to compare stick and ball sports in how they are operated rules-wise and officiating-wise. I think the business side of it is a proven way, and motorsports is a proven way to fail. I mean, how many... Let's look back to when we started watching in the 2000s. How many teams are really left from then that aren't super teams, that aren't ones that had a Roush, a Hendrick, a Gibbs, a Penske?
It's all that's the only ones that are. I mean, Hendrick, Gibbs, Penske, Roush.
Think of the teams that were big back then. Ganassi's gone, DEI is gone. There's so
4.
many.
There's 4 or 5 that are left.
And Wood Brothers just keeps getting
RCR.
Bandaged. It was Wood Brothers was bandaged by Roush for a little bit. They're bandaged by Penske now. They just keep getting bandaged. So
and I get that. That's the way motorsports has been. But it's they were able to survive that way when NASCAR was bringing in 6 to 10 million people every week. You can't do that when.
That's why I say the model does need to evolve. That's the stubbornness that the sport is currently run. How the sport's currently run is going to hurt it. There was that what was that YouTube channel that did a video a few months back, basically saying the France family is going to kill NASCAR.
It's a more perfect union.
It was some non-NASCAR channel with a lot of subscribers. I don't know what their background is. And I remember seeing that video kept popping up in my recommended, and I kind of dismissed it because I'm like, they probably did their research, but it's also, they're not in the industry, not in the biz. But I do think at least their thesis statement is more or less correct. I think the stubbornness of the current ownership group is going to make it difficult for everyone to really reap the benefits of their investment.
Here is a team that was a powerhouse that's gone. Alessandro brings up Robert Yates Racing.
I mean, Stewart Haas is about to be gone, and that's you could argue they were a powerhouse.
So here's something that I want to know. This can really tell me how NASCAR stands. I want to see, NASCAR gets one race, and they have to compete against however many NFL games per year, per weekend. And if their numbers compare to just one NFL game, and then they get all those, like you can't put yourself financially on the same level as the NFL. Then, if that's the case, this weekend, oh boy, we got the 1-6 Tennessee Titans hosting the 2-6 New England Patriots. If that somehow outdraws NASCAR, then there's a problem.
Well, they don't
They
show the
probably will,
individual ones. They just combine them, which is smart on the NFL's part because you put that
Okay.
gargantuan number there. But I mean, the average NFL game in a local area is going to get more viewers than NASCAR because it's such a huge sport, even worldwide. But it's just the money wise, like there has to be a different way of doing this because the Hendrick, I think, had talked about like, we haven't made a profit since 2017. It's like, wow, that's 2016, 2017. It's like, that's interesting. Like, what got put in place in that time to help them make money? It's like, okay, so we need to work on this thing a little bit more. I think that's the main part of it. It's funny, all these stories kind of mold together a little bit when it comes to just money.
It's been a very malleable headline segment of the show, but I think we can kind of put a period on it there. Business model is flawed. Tony Stewart highlighting some of that. The lawsuit highlighting some of that. And we'll just see if NASCAR was willing to make any major changes or if they're coerced into making major changes by the court system. We'll see.
Yeah, we might need some gaslighting.
Yeah. Well, what it actually is, I refuse to gaslight guys. I really do, because I have 13 wins in Random Driver of the Week. Eric has 12. If we just don't play this week, then I'm going to be looking at worst, potentially. No, I can't. Yeah, I would be looking at a tie at worst. I feel like
we can't have a tie, chat. You don't want us to accidentally tie now, do you?
Oh, actually, no. We have 2 more shows. So technically, even if we don't play this week, we could tie and then go for winner
But it's a
takes
better
all,
shot for
potentially.
you to win, though.
Yeah.
It's
I
13
mean,
12.
if y'all don't want to play, I get it. It's fine.
Hey, the Random Driver of the Week is the most fun segment in all of sports media. I think that's been proven by like the New York Times. I think they
you
wrote
ain't
about
gonna
it.
find this on
I think
Jordan
Fox News
and Jeff,
did a segment.
No.
Like this is changing the way sports get discussed. Is the Random Driver of the Week?
I'll even help on my end really quick. I'll like it with my burner accounts. How about that?
Jared has burner accounts. You heard it here first, chat.
Yeah, actually, I got a few accounts I can change over to. Let's be Danny B. Trains for just a second.
I have one YouTube account. That's it. I'm not just saying that to be like, oh yeah, I know, but I don't have any. I'm like too lazy to create other accounts, so like I'm kind of stuck.
You may have one, but we know deep down you're secretly double E dud still.
Yeah, I can always just toggle that back if I ever need to. Well, we are about less than 60 likes away. So maybe we can hit that 600 mark while we're doing our prediction segment. But before we make our bold predictions this week, Jarrett has to hold us accountable for our prior predictions. I'll take it away, Jarrett.
Yes. So, of course, each host will make up to 3 NASCAR, motorsports, or show-related predictions on the years, week, whatever it might be. We'll keep track of them each week, right and wrong predictions. Try and keep it concise to within a time window. 2 to 3 years generally. We can wiggle a little bit on it. But yes, please try to do that. Now, when it comes to the accountability session, I have nothing coming off the board. So yay me. I didn't fall behind at all this week. Eric had the roughest week of us. Another rough week for you, buddy.
Man, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. You said 4 of the final 8 cup races would be overtime finishes, and mathematically that cannot happen now. We've actually been on a pretty good roll. So good job, cup drivers. Good job. You said the cup final 4 would be Joey Logano, William Byron, Christopher Bell, and Kyle Larson. Well, Tyler Reddick is in, so it means that Byron, Bell, or Larson will not be in. And you said you would finish 15th or better at Groovy Hollow 4. You finished, I believe, 21st.
Close. I was running top 15 on the final restart, and then, the second to last restart, and then the big one took me out.
No, Danny, you had 1 come off the board here. You said Eric would cause 2 or more wrecks at Groovy Hollow 4. Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but you did not cause them when you were.
I caused 1, kind of. It was more of a lazy spin on my part, but I didn't cause 2.
Yes.
Okay, well, good for you.
So as for the prediction percentages, I am still leading at 45.83. I still have a lot to come off the board, though. Danny is second at 32.98%, and Eric at 31.81%. And so I will lead us off again. It's funny because we'll keep track of the all-time numbers and stuff for like random driver and predictions and stuff, but on the season, it's getting down to crunch time. So here's what we got. I am going to say this. Within, I'll say the next... Whoa.
Sorry.
Ring a
Gong
gong.
show.
Bong, listen up. He's talking to everybody.
Within the next 3 years, Dale Earnhardt Jr. will race the Budweiser number 8 at the Nashville Fairgrounds.
That's you'll sit that one on your page for a while there.
I don't know. Depends. Danny, you are next.
This is right in line of me. A train will be seen on the live broadcast of the Cup race passing behind Martinsville this weekend.
That's actually a really good one. I like
like
that
it.
one.
They don't always show it. It does go through there, but they don't always show it.
Fox has always been really good at showing it, but the other ones have always they've been not as on board.
Because when I went last year, I did see one go behind the track, but I don't know if they showed it on TV.
Well, in that same vein, I'll do this one now. So we know Fox loves to talk about everything but the racing. It feels like every time they race there, they got to do a whole big special segment highlighting the hot dogs. My prediction is that there's too much good racing going on right now. NBC might mention the Martinsville hot dog, but they will not do a dedicated pre-recorded segment on the hot dogs during Sunday's broadcast. And I'm going to do my best to keep an eye out for it.
During the
Hopefully
race.
I would
Not
say like
race.
I guess during the race, sure. I'll that's a little more of a layup for me, I think, but I'll do that.
So you said they won't do a pre-recorded segment?
I don't watch pre-race very much these days. I tune in like 15 minutes before the green flag. That's about it nowadays.
So you said no pre-recorded. They show just someone live. That's different then.
If they cut to like someone in the crowd eating a hot dog and Lee Diffie goes, "Oh, I haven't had one of those hot dogs yet, mate," then like that doesn't count. But if
that needs to go viral.
My point is they're not going to do like a dedicated, the legend of the Martinsville hot. That's a Fox thing. NBC's not going to do that. That's my prediction.
I got this. Someone will spin off the bumper of the 81 in the Xfinity race this weekend. He has nothing to lose.
2 of the Cup Series playoff drivers will finish off the lead lap on Sunday.
Exactly.
Like prediction.
Okay.
I like that prediction.
Well, okay. Let's rewrite that to 2 or more. Let's just say at least 2.
Okay.
Well, I mean, 2 or more. That either way, that's neither are a layup in my opinion.
No, that's fine with me. Yeah. I'll go the Martinsville related prediction. I think for the 3rd, consecutive year, someone below the cut line is going to win the Cup race.
Any suggestions, or do we need to wait for predictions for that? I'm just kidding. I just wanted to stir the pot. I'll say this: Homestead will be the finale weekend in 2026.
That's fair.
Smart to throw one up that won't come off the board anytime soon.
I could announce it really soon. Depends on if they get the bid and all that. Finales and like big dates tend to get announced earlier, so that might come off the board next year.
We will hit. This is hard saying this right now, saying when you're watching live. We will hit at least 1,000 live viewers on the final episode of the season on Eric's channel.
Ooh, I like it. Folks
cool
better tune in. My final prediction, maybe this is a layup as well. I know there's been a lot of chatter about the rain tire test at Homestead. I don't think rain tires, wet weather tires, will be used at an intermediate next year. I think it's going to have to be 2026 at the earliest. And maybe that's a layup, but I need to get my percentage up a little bit higher, so we're going with it.
And with that, we have hit the random driver of the week like goal.
Perfect timing. Ding, 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 ding. I've been like miming a lot of things with my hands tonight. 600 likes. Thank you all for liking the stream. Perfect timing as well. Jarrett has another mystery driver that we are going to guess. Jarrett, let the chat know how this game works.
Yeah. So these guys will hide you guys in the chat, so they are not.
We will hide.
Yeah.
So they're
One,
not
two,
getting a
three.
bit of an assist. And yeah, I will shoot out some random driver facts, and they will try with 3 predictions a piece that they can use to predict or to say which driver I am talking about.
So if I win, I lock up a tie. No worse than that. If
Yes.
Eric wins, then we do tie, and it's anyone's ball game.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is a big one. This is a big one this week. Can I guess? Because you like to start Jarrett with like where they're from usually. Can I
say
guess?
you already put a guess in for this?
I'm gonna just
without
throw
hearing
out
anything?
there. Is this driver from the Northeast?
Northeast. Which states would that entail to you?
I don't know, like New England states, 13 original colonies. I don't know.
Not the New England states.
Okay, all right.
I
let's
basically
roll.
count from like Ohio, West Virginia, and up from there.
Well, real quick before we get started, Danny is leading 13-12 over Eric on the year. Eric got Morgan Shepherd last week.
I love how close we've been this whole year, Danny. This has been good. Very competitive.
Eric got Morgan Shepherd last week. Connor, aka Ellie Productions, got James Hilton in the quickest prediction ever correct in this. And then Danny had 2 in a row with MTJ and Lee Petty. So let's get this baby going. Thing is, I'm not going to see the chat unless I pop it back up on screen because I'm reading the facts off my phone this week.
Okay.
So this random driver began racing at the age of 5.
Oh, he wasn't going to let his prime pass him up.
No guess yet.
He's not even in his prime yet. That's the joke. He's like some 16-year-old K&N driver.
It's just Braxton Bush. No, it's not a guess.
This random driver's career best NASCAR finish was 13th.
Is that Cup, Xfinity Trucks?
Just overall.
What the? How that doesn't help you at all?
This random driver had to withdraw their entry at their first scheduled NASCAR race in the top 3 series. So got to the track, had to withdraw their entry.
I love this is the
Well,
one
it's
week
definitely
that
not Kyle Busch then.
this is the first week that Jared didn't lead with where they're from.
We'll get there. This random driver began racing in San Diego.
Maybe that's a hint. Maybe this driver's from like a very famous town, or like it's like very like it's maybe it's Dale Earnhardt and it's Kannapolis or something like that, and so we can't give that away.
Dale Earnhardt started racing in San Diego. Eric.
Oh,
Really?
that's probably true. He probably finished better than 13th.
The textile mills of San Diego. Is that a guess?
In a chat right now, see what they're thinking.
I wonder if they've gotten it right yet.
I can pop it up on screen and see. At least I thought I could. No. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. This random driver has raced in Fords, Toyotas, and Chevrolets, all 3 of them.
And have they raced in like Dodge or Pontiac?
Just those 3.
Okay.
This random driver made 32 truck starts and 31 Xfinity starts. Anyone on the edge of their seat with an inkling?
I have no inkling. The San Diego hint is probably the closest hint, the best hint I've gotten so far.
This random driver has a truck that is currently sitting in the Dale Jr. race car graveyard. This random
crashed really hard then.
Mm-hmm. This random driver's percentage of lead lap finishes in Xfinity is 12.9%.
Good Lord, they're trash.
This random driver ran a throwback to Tim Flock.
I wish I remember that.
I don't remember who did that. Oh.
Well, it was also I can give you the hint that it was the same car I used as my influence for my Jocko Flacco t-shirt.
I mean, that's kind of like the famous.
I'm just blanking on who would have drove that.
Yeah, that's kind of like the famous. I feel like that's the famous Tim Flock sort of look, right?
Yeah. This random driver was tweeted about once by Danny B, but shockingly never tweeted about by Jarrett or Eric.
Shockingly,
just one time.
Just one time by you.
Who would have driven a Tim Flock throwback.
This random driver graduated from high school a year early to begin their professional level racing career earlier. This random.
Okay.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
no, that's okay.
Go
I'm
ahead.
just thinking out
I'll
loud.
be polite.
Doesn't need to happen. You can keep going.
This random driver has led 3 laps in their professional NASCAR careers. Or career, I should say.
Good for them.
This random driver's father worked with the likes of Bill Elliott, Dale Earnhardt, Ron Hornaday Jr., and Steve Park.
This is a young guy. This is a young guy or girl. Okay.
This random driver was one of the drivers part of Marcus Lemonis' spending spree with Camping World in the Truck Series a few years ago.
Oh.
Shoot, who didn't he go with?
I was about to say that doesn't really narrow it down. Norm Benning.
Is that a guess?
Not gonna. No, that's not a yes.
This random driver already was part of a semi-viral moment in 2024 in the lower series.
A semi-viral.
People will remember it. Went around the news a little bit.
2024. This year?
I don't know. Wasn't that memorable.
We'll see. This random driver ran the numbers 07, 00, 4, 13, 33.
Craig Golding.
Is that your guess?
Yes.
You're wrong.
Good guess. Oh.
Oh.
So
Wait,
07,
say the note. Yeah. Okay.
00, 4, 13, 33, 35, 41, 46, 47, 50, 55, 74, 83, and 92 in their career.
Oh man. So they never drove the 91?
Mm-mm.
Because that's when you said Tim Flock. Didn't he drive 91? That was his, that's what I was trying to think of, like a throwback. Who might have driven the 91? I was thinking like McNally truck or something.
I don't know if I've said, but that throwback to Tim Flock was in the Truck Series.
I was really thinking the entire time it could have been Gray, and then when I heard 07, I just immediately pulled the trigger on it.
I was thinking Zane Smith because I know he's driven the 91 some this year and he's from California, but now I don't. It can't be him with all those numbers.
By the way, the chat's starting to get it pretty well.
Viral moment in the lower series.
Semi-viral moment. It's a big moment for NASCAR fans, and it kind of like made different newscasts at times, but was not as big as like a Hail Melon.
Okay. It's just like Sam. Maybe it was Ryan Sieg, Sam Mayer. Where's Sam Mayer from? He's from Wisconsin, so it's probably not him. All right, keep going, Jarrett. Keep going.
This random driver recreated scenes of the movie from 1986, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, while in Chicago this summer, posting it to their Instagram.
It's definitely a young guy then. So it's like,
Yeah. Gosh, I feel like I saw this, but I'm blanking on who it was.
yeah, I don't know. I'm lost.
Actually, we're running out of clues, by the way.
Oh no.
So, Danny has 2 guesses left. Eric has 3. You guys can shoot for the stars on it.
Give me one. I'll guess after this clue.
This random driver was able to race in February's Xfinity Daytona race due to a car that had previously qualified in being DQ'd in inspection. Wait for it.
No clue. This would have been 90 of Kyle Weatherman. No, he would have made the field. Did you say the Xfinity or Daytona or the truck race?
Xfinity Daytona.
Xfinity, yeah.
Can you tell us those numbers they drove again?
I
Yeah.
already deleted that clue off.
Oh
my dude.
The notes app letting us down.
I should have wrote him down.
I'll throw a guess out there. I don't know where he's from. I'm gonna throw out Garrett Smithley.
Wrong. Damn. So 2 left for you guys to choose from. Only 4 clues left. Chat has it, by the way.
Okay, good for them.
This random driver actually had an article written about them on the Daily Downforce called Everything You Need to Know About Blank.
Okay, so I'm trying to think about drivers that maybe we've like collaborated with on I did something with Kyle Weatherman. It's funny that I'm gonna guess Kyle Weatherman. Kyle Weatherman.
Your guess is wrong too.
What the damn it? It's not Brennan Poole.
So 1 guess left for Eric, 2 for Danny. Down to the wire.
Oh, I got it. It's Dawson Cram. The
Correct.
viral moment was when he threw the bumper or got the bumper thrown at him.
Correct.
Oh.
Dawson Graham. So we're tied up.
Yeah.
I only had 3 clues left. One was a bumper at Richmond was all I was going to say.
Oh, okay. I would.
His nickname was DK and born September 12th, 2001.
When you said something, shoot for stars, was that supposed to be some kind of hint towards us somehow?
Not really. I just was trying to have fun with it.
I feel like he have a car that was had like stars on it one time. I don't remember.
Was it kind of like one that was, if he did, might have, because he did the Ferris Bueller ones with Brad Perez and somebody else. It might have been like in conjunction with them. But you guys are tied up 13 all. So
nice.
That was a hard one.
Yeah,
I knew I had to dig in a little bit on this one, and so I went to the I went to Avatar: The Last Airbender live, where they play all the music from the show. And during the intermission between books 2 and 3, I was sitting on my phone getting the clues for Random Driver filled out last night.
Nice.
I had a 17-minute intermission, and I used those 17 minutes very well.
Did they play Secret Tunnel live?
At the very end, yes, they played that. I mean, they played everything.
The encore.
Secret Tunnel. I want to see if we can get Secret Tunnel spammed in the chat.
Side note, unrelated. I just saw some people talk about it in the chat. So I looked up the World Series game. The Yankees were up 5-0 until now, when the Dodgers just scored 5 runs in the 5th inning to tie it up 5-5.
It's okay. I don't like the Dodgers either, but Yankees are.
Well,
so
we could all be in like the what they call the sicko committee on Twitter, like for this game right now. So
I want Rizzo to win.
I can't believe that. I can't believe that Yankee fan literally ripped the ball out of the dude's glove.
That was funny.
Insane.
He's getting banned for life. I guarantee.
I think they already announced he has been banned. I want to say, maybe I'm wrong about that.
How could you not ban him? What would the NASCAR equivalent to that be? Like holding a crew member from jumping over the wall as a fan? Like, you're like, I am not letting Denny Hamlin win this race, damn it. Holds his tire changer.
Don't give anyone ideas. There's not that much security on.
Oh, we're gonna have Big Santa from Martinsville try that one?
Yes. Yeah.
Watch that guy watches us. He's just like, my last moment of just pure happiness taken away. All right, but yeah, that is Random Driver of the Week. 2 left on the year. What do we got for this weekend, though?
Down to the wire.
Ooh, someone actually brought a good answer for that. Throwing a shoe in front of Danica Patrick while leading is actually pretty darn close.
That actually is.
Good point. Well, last but not least, let's talk Martinsville, boys. One important note going into this weekend, I mentioned it earlier, different tire compound for the Cup race Sunday afternoon, much softer tire compound than we've seen in the past. Who knows what sort of variables that could present. But let's get to it. Run through the race info real quick. The truck race Friday night is the Zip Buy Now Pay Later 200. 200 lap race. 50, 50, 100 are the stage breakdowns. It's at 6 p.m. Eastern time, Friday night, FS1, MRN, 76 degrees, 15% chance of rain, Zane Smith, got to go all the way back to 2021 as the most recent fall Martinsville truck race winner. Excited to have them back, triple header weekend here. The Xfinity race Saturday is the National Debt Relief 250. It's a 250 lap race. 60, 60, 130 are the stage breakdowns. 4 o'clock on Saturday on the CW and MRN. Weather's beautiful, 67 degrees, sunny with an 8% chance of rain. And Sunday, the Cup race is the Xfinity 500, 500 laps, 130, 130, 240 laps are the stage breakdowns. Gosh, just the third stage is longer than the truck race. The race starts at 2 o'clock Eastern on Sunday, NBC, MRN, Sirius XM, another beautiful day, 67 degrees, only a 5% chance of rain. Ryan Blaney is the defending winner. Forgot to mention Justin Allgaier is the defending fall Martinsville Xfinity winner. Let's get to the pick points because, boys, it is tight up front.
Here we go.
Chat, you are holding on to a very thin lead. 514 points for you guys. I am only 1 point back with 2 races to go. It's coming down to the wire. I will not finish second 4 years in a row. I refuse.
I jumped them both.
Jarrett's still within striking distance, 17 points back. Danny got to catch fire here. He's minus 29, running out of opportunities.
I don't feasibly see how I could do it now.
Sweep the weekend.
And
if Danny sweeps the weekend, he basically goes into P1.
Now here's where I will let you know. So you can make up 31 points in a weekend. So Danny needs to be within 31 points of the lead to have a shot going into Phoenix. And that goes for all of us. But
that's good to know.
Danny's the one on the cut line there. The way I see it is we got 2 for sure going for it. I'm the one who's like middle of the road, could go either way. Danny's the long shot, but we still have all 4 of us in it heading into the last 6 races of the NASCAR season.
This is exactly where I want to be, though. -1, so I'm basically tied with the chat. But because I'm behind, I get to pick first, or at least ahead of them. This is like exactly where I want to be right now.
And I'm still regretting not just going to my gut and picking Logano at Vegas. I knew he was going to win.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Let's start with the truck race. Danny, you get to lead us off. Who wins at Martinsville?
Let's see. Well, last week I picked him. He didn't win, but I'm going to do it again. Christian Eckes.
Safe pick. Solid.
Safe, solid pick, yes. I will go with my number 2 pick then, and that is Mr. Ty Majeski.
I get to go third. I am so torn here. Chat, you're going to hate me for this one. No, you won't. You're probably going to like me. You're probably going to laugh at me for this one. I'll leave you Corey Heim. I'll do it. I'm going to go with Connor Zilic.
Ooh, which trucks is he running in this weekend?
I think he's in the 7. Oh God, I hope he's in the 7. I checked earlier. I'm pretty sure he's in the 7.
So they're going Heim. All right.
They're going Heim. Okay, not surprising.
But
I was seeing some people who were waiting to hear if you went with Heim, who were starting to say 38. They were starting to go Lane Riggs backup option.
I thought about Lane Riggs. That might be a good pick too, but I like Zilic. All right.
Gotta go bold.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Xfinity race. Danny, lead us off.
Going with another safe pick. Justin Allgaier.
Reasonable.
Defending winner of this race. I am going to go with the one that I think would be the most prepared for a Martinsville race, ready to go. I'm going to go with Eric Almirola.
And shoot, I'm going to go with the bull in the china shop, Chandler Smith. Let's see if he really does it. Chat.
We leave it
got some Sheldon Creeds.
See, that would be a points pick because, he'll probably finish second.
That's fair. That's sort of, you're hedging your bets there. I think they're going Creed.
They're going
a lot of 18s.
And,
with arms wide open.
And then just waiting to see like Michael Myers take off the mask and it's Austin Hill.
Dun, 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 dun. All right. Who's going to suck?
All right, so Cup race, who is going to suck this weekend, Danny?
I said it last week. I'll do it again. He got nothing to worry about until next weekend. Joey Logano.
I'm in the same vein as you on that one, just went a different way with it. Tyler Reddick, I mean, his track's not really that great for him in general anyway, and now that he just has to focus to next week, who cares?
Read my mind. Tyler Reddick struggled in this race a year ago, and yeah, of the playoff guys, he has nothing to really race for. Chat, anything different on your end? I see a lot of 45s. I also see some Harrison Burtons.
I think we'll give him 45 on this one.
Give him 45.
Look what Spencer put. That's brutal but great. I love it. Jeff, your little boy is gonna suck again.
A lot of Lee Diffie impressions on the show tonight. Danny, we're just missing yours. You'll have to strike at the perfect moment. Who's the dark horse?
I'm too redneck to be imitating that accent. Come on, guys.
I mean, that's just like, that's somewhat redneck over on that side of the world.
Dark horse pick, Cup race. Danny, who you got?
Ty Gibbs.
Okay.
I erroneously picked this person to win in the spring. I will not make that mistake again, but I will pick him to be a dark horse, Chase Briscoe.
Oh, I like that. That's actually not a bad pick at all. I'm going to stick with Alex Bowman. I think he'll be top 5 for sure. Who knows? Could even compete for the win.
Oh, I'll
Chat.
be mad if he wins.
Chat likes Priest or Hocevar. I think it's leaning
I
Hocevar.
think it's gonna go that way.
Some berries as well. There's also Josh Berry. So yeah, that's a good point about the Stewart Haas cars. They have performed pretty well here in the past. All right, so we'll give him Hocevar. Now is the most important pick. Who is going to win the unfortunately named Xfinity 500 Cup Series race at Martinsville Speedway? Cutoff race, a lot on the line. Danny, lead us off.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, or maybe it's Texas, probably in Tennessee here, that says, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me, you can't get fooled again." I picked him
Are
for
you
2 weeks
quoting
in a
George
row.
Bush?
Kyle Larson, don't screw me over again, Kyle Larson.
Did you just quote George Bush?
We won't get fooled again.
Yeah, they're saying in Texas. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you.
Somehow
I did. I literally searched George Bush "fool me once" quote.
This turned into
Good call out.
the most political episode of NWP immediately after.
Hey, we can laugh at George Bush quotes. Come on.
I know. That's true.
My turn.
Jared, who do you got?
I will go with the defending winner, Ryan Blaney.
Oh, I wanted Blaney.
I'm going to be a Blaney boy this week.
Oh, I really wanted Ryan Blaney. Now I got to go back to the drawing board. Hold on. Give me a minute. Oh, man.
You're like,
He put all of
damn.
his eggs in the Blaney basket.
You know what? No, I shouldn't. I really shouldn't. It's like having your cake for breakfast. Like, I shouldn't do this. This is gluttonous. This is, some might even argue, blasphemy. I'm going to pick Denny Hamlin.
Ooh.
He's hasn't been great here recently. He's been good here recently,
He's
but he
from
hasn't won here in a
Virginia.
while.
He's won there a lot.
He's won there a lot. It's been a while. The reason I'm going to go Hamlin, he's my backup pick. I wanted Blaney, but I'm going to bet on these tires being extremely, what am I trying to say? These tires wearing out aggressively. And last time we raced a race like that was the Spring Bristol, and Denny Hamlin was class of the field. So I'm going to bet on this being a tire conservation race. And if that's the case, no one better, I don't think, in Cup right now than Denny Hamlin. So that's my logic. Chat, I know you had to pivot. They were going with Blaney as well, it looked like. I think they pivoted to Christopher Bell.
Pivot.
Unless I'm wrong. Some Elliots. I thought about Elliott. Actually, there's a lot of Elliots. Maybe I should
some
pull
Byron
Elliott.
too.
Yeah, there's some Byrons. Man,
I'm seeing more 9 and 20 than I am Byron personally.
a lot of Byrons just came in, though. This is tough. Okay, I'm going to pull all three.
And then
Which
we'll
I
do a
do is-
runoff election.
Well, we'll see. If there's a
Tis
clear
the
favorite.
season.
If it's close, like two are kind of really close, then sure, but I might just do one and hope there's like a clear majority or plurality starting the poll. Now I'm going to let it run for like 15 seconds. So get your votes in ASAP. Do not
We're
hesitate.
still waiting for the state of Minnesota to come in.
All right. Do 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 10 9 8 7 6
It's
5 4
Definitely looking
3,
like there was
2,
less 24s like I thought.
1. It looks like, yeah, by a pretty significant margin, I think I'm going to go Christopher Bell. They get the 20 car. 50% of the vote for C. Bell, 32% for Elliott, 16% for Byron. That doesn't even come close to adding up to 100%. I don't know how Google came up with that math, but the poll is the poll.
Like, F it. Throw a dart at a board.
That equals 98. Doesn't even equal 99 or 100. It equals 98%. What happened to the other two lost percentage points?
Look, the
Where
chat
did they
had enough
go?
electoral votes. That's all that matters. Okay, guys?
The most political episode of NWP ever.
What I love,
if
the
there was
best
ever a
part-
week for it, come on.
and you
Eric.
know what?
That's
I'll say
true.
this: the best part is we've been political and not political at the same time. We'll make
No,
funny
it's just-
jokes
we
and
have
not
been
say
as
anything of
neutral
our
of-
opinions.
We have been as neutral political as we can possibly be.
These are just government jokes. That's all this is. Yeah, within the margin of error, Chris says
I
in
need
the
to-
chat.
I need to show you guys after the show gets over the Oni plays different impersonations of different political figures. It's funny as hell. Same with their impersonation of Doug Walker. Real quick before we go, because I know Eric, you want to go to super chat stage break. But before we go, I know she's not watching, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Happy birthday, Sophie. My cousin is turning 16 tonight. So happy birthday.
Sweet 16. Happy birthday, Sophie. Good call out. Any other shout outs before we get to our final super chat stage break? Danny, anyone to shout out?
Happy, we just celebrated 5-year anniversary, me and my wife Claudia, and we celebrated an amazing trip to Montana. Oh my gosh, chat, if y'all can ever visit Montana, you need to. That was if I won the Powerball tomorrow, first you'd probably see me disappear, but I'd probably be hiding somewhere in Montana. It was that beautiful.
That's awesome. Some of the photos y'all posted looked really nice. So congratulations to both of you. Seemed like a great trip. I'll make a shout out to no one in particular. Shugs the cat. He's just so fluffy and cute. Want to give him a shout out. He deserves it. All right. Super chat
I
stage.
did not expect that. I expect Cosmo before shows.
No,
Wow.
he's been a menace today. He'll get shouted out next week if he behaves himself. GN NASCAR fan, thank you for the 5 earlier tonight. Have now been to 27 NASCAR races, most at Auto Club, RIP. Also Phoenix, Coliseum, Daytona. Aside from 2013 Auto Club 400, best race attended in person. I guess are they saying that the Homestead race was the best they've attended outside of
I think
Auto
so.
Club?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. I could believe that. Grid flow, thank you for the 2. There should be a mandatory overtime for each race.
I know that's not Brian France's burner account.
Yeah, wait a second. Gia NASCAR fan sent another 2 and said, having added Homestead to the list, I too want it to be the finale. So yes, that confirms they got their first Miami experience and seemed to love it. Very valid. Larso says, compromise, all races cut in half, everyone happy. What were we talking about earlier? What did that have to do with anything?
I'm not following. My bad. I spaced for a moment. I was looking at the chat and being so nice.
It said all races cut in half. Somebody clarify what that means.
I mean, like shorten
just
races?
shorten them. But were we talking? Why would that please everybody? Does that make it cheaper to run? We were talking about
I
money
could
a
see
lot.
Twitter being divided and at war with each other if we did that.
Speaking of politics, Noah in the chat just said MHLA, make Homestead last again.
Last on the schedule, not last in terms of quality.
Yes. M. Martin fan for life sent a 10, says you guys need to reach out to Legal Eagle, the YouTube creator. He does a great job explaining legal stuff in plain language and has done some automotive content collaborations in the past. Yeah, I've heard of him. I haven't really watched too many of his videos in the past. Very familiar though that I know a lot of people are very familiar with him. We should reach out. Do you think he'd do this podcast?
Well,
think he'd come on for 20 minutes? We should send him a message.
Maybe we do like a 20-minute special on the NWP channel over the winter or something if we get him. Or we open next year with him.
Yeah. No, exactly. Off-season special with Legal Eagle. That'd be exciting. Fred Dog 81. If the 9 misses the Final Four, this season a failure. Ooh.
Considering what last year was, failure to make it after missing so much, no.
Failure is a strong word, and Danny brings up a great point. Wasn't even in the playoffs last year due to injuries and other factors. So I don't think missing the championship 4 is the worst part about this season for Elliott. I think only winning 1 race is still just like a little concerning. That'd be it. But no, not a failure by any means. Jar Jar Binks. We so gonna boo these doo-doo head KH Blue Jimmy.
What?
Booing everyone. That makes about as much sense as I would expect from Jar Jar Binks. Santa in the chat. On the naughty list, Eric, you called me fat. I thought that was Jared.
He's husky.
Yes, Santa is a glorious creature. Thank you, Santa, for the super chat. That wasn't on my Christmas list this year, but I'll let it slide. Nas Carson, thank you for the 5. NWP guys, I missed Sunday's race due to helping out with trick-or-treating for kids. I have no regrets for missing the race watching TV. Hey, it sounds like you were doing something great for kids and for the community. That's awesome. So, yeah, don't blame you for not having regrets. That being said, it was a really damn good race. You should go watch the replay. Hope you TiVoed it.
I'm just thinking of the Michael Jordan meme. Man, F them kids. I kid. I'm kidding.
That's ironic. Fred Dog 81. Read my lips. No new Kyle Busch victories.
I love all these references, man.
I did not mean for this show to get like this, but
there you go. There's another reference for you.
I should have done a better. I wasn't prepared. I should have done a better voice for it.
We need Eric to do a Howard Dean impersonation.
Napa Racing fan says the tires better be soft as pillows, or Martinsville will have to manufacture pillows to help fans sleep through the next gen parade on Sunday. That's very clever.
This is went off the rails in the best way, man.
Yeah, we're down to the final couple super chats, I believe. Groovy Goose, why do you think Deegan moved to Ford from Toyota? Going back a couple years now.
I think, well, first of all, I remember her getting like a brand new Mustang from Ford right off the bat when I did that. Ford saw something there and they offered her more money to come into that program.
We want more of that internet money.
I'm sure. I mean, sure. Financially, they offered her a better contract, perhaps. I also wonder if she saw the clogged Toyota pipeline and thought, if I go to Ford, I remember her saying at the time that she felt she was going to get more one-on-one, kind of attention, special development at Ford, because it was going to be more of a priority because Toyota has so many drivers and teams and whatnot in the lower ranks. So that was that she said. Is that really what she thought? Was it just money? Maybe we may never know. Robbie Uribe, thank you for the very generous 20. Headed to Phoenix for the finale in a couple of weeks. It'll be my first time at that track. Anything special you guys recommend that I do? I'm going to try to get my hands on some garage passes. For sure, Robbie, if you end up in the infield, I think they have a very nice infield setup. If you get into the garage, that's awesome, of course. But even if you're just in the infield experience, they've got a lot of cutouts in the garage. You can go up close to the cars and where the drivers hang out. A lot of nice places to sit, some good views still of like the sweeping turns 3 and 4 now. I think Phoenix has one of the best infield fan experiences just from a comfort and it's very convenient, I would say, compared to others. So definitely recommend that, spending time in there if you get the chance. As far as outside of the track, there's like I've mentioned it on the show before. I go every time I go to Phoenix. They have the best calzone I've ever had, but there's a little random Italian place. Might even be a chain. I'm not sure, but you go in there. Everyone's very Italian. It's in Goodyear, Arizona, 15 minutes from the track, maybe even closer. It's called, I think, just Taste of Italy. Might be a chain for all I know, but you go in there. It feels authentic, and the calzone that I get every time I go is delicious. So I recommend that if you're into that kind of stuff. Final couple super chats. GN NASCAR fan says November 10th, 2024, a date that will live in infamy. We're still doing the political quotes, but yeah, Phoenix finale, not for everyone.
The only thing we have to fear is overtime finishes.
Because Carson Hocevar in the finale in the championship four. Garrett Buki to wrap things up tonight. Who would you guys pick as the driver who's pleasantly surprised you the most in Cup? I'd say, speak of the devil, Hocevar for sure. Stay classy, gents. Thank you, Garabuki. Hocevar's been very impressive this year. Justin Haley turned heads as well.
I'll say the last half of the year, Zane Smith. He's been a lot better.
Agree. Yeah, been very surprising. It looked like his career was just torpedoing down, and they somehow turned it around.
And I'm surprised in a bad way. Ryan Preece and Noah Gragson, I feel like, granted we've all established that equipment was getting worse and ultimately they're going away, but you'd hope they could be somewhat more competitive.
Well, Gragson was good in the middle of the season. For me, it's Corey. If it's bad, it's Corey LaJoy, because there was so much positive energy around him and that team improving, take that next step, and all of that energy went over to Carson Hocevar.
Basically, yeah, good way to put it. Yeah, pleasant surprises. Haley, Hocevar, Zane Smith second half, Josh Berry first half, not so much second half maybe, considering what Stewart Haas has dealt with. Yeah, good stuff tonight. Thank you all so much for the super chats. Thank you to everyone who tuned in and spent any portion of the last 2.5 hours with us. Was another fun NWP stream. One more time. Next week, Wednesday, 1 week from tonight, we will be on the Icebergs channel. Same time, different place. We'll be talking Martinsville and getting y'all ready for the 2024 championship weekend at Phoenix Raceway. Hunter Nixon Fishing dropping in one final super chat here right at the wire. As a Larson fan this week, my 3-year-old watched when he spun out, and she took my Larson hat and threw it on the floor and said he needs to learn to drive. Wow. What an articulate 3-year-old you have there. I love that. Raising a passionate sports fan. That is beautiful. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. Have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll We'll see you on next week's edition of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Take care, y'all.
Drivers, start your engines!
Green flag, all rolling. All the way out, stay in, come on. Bye-bye, on in, see you later. These guys are really good.